If you've ever been extremely frustrated at pollen season, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Folks, welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's PreMarket Playbook. It is April 30th, the last day of the month here. We're going to break down all the stuff that's going on. We've got some earnings to talk about. Humana reported earnings here today. Cat, Etsy, we had some earnings last night. Got a lot of stuff to break down here today. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to get you all ready for the market. Then we're going to trade with you a little bit today. Should be fun. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, April 30th starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful Tuesday night. I got to say, between some of the NBA and the NHL last night, it was something else. So we're back here this morning. Definitely frustrated with the pollen season, though, whether it's allergies or my car being covered in what looks like green dust. Pollen season is frustrating. Pollen season is frustrating, but it is almost over. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Alam, good morning. Is anyone excited about AGRI today? I am not, just to answer your question directly, but I'll add it to the list here. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see if we have any way of getting excited about that. I am excited to see you here today, especially being the first comment. Alam, good morning. Welcome back. Pete, good morning. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. Welcome back. Federico, no crumble. Federico, I don't know what that means, but I'm glad to see you. Welcome back. Brett, good morning. Yassine, good morning. Visa chart, please. Got stuck after hours. Absolutely. We can look at Visa. They reported earnings last night. Yassine, Visa's been an absolute monster. We'll see where that chart is at today. Yes, added to the list. Great to see you. Big Bees, good morning, team. Let's get it. Happy Wednesday. It is hump day, schlump day, Wednesday, the turn, the middle of the week, whatever. It's here. We're going to have a good one. You're here, so I'm having a good one. Harley, good morning. Welcome back. Sun-kissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Quantum Vortex, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Wiss, we up in here? Indeed we are, boss. Good to see you again. White Chocolate Mocha, let's start the day. We're ready to go. That's how we do it. Dermal, good morning. Rooster, good morning. Philip, good morning. Is NVIDIA a buy? Morning, is NVIDIA a buy? You folks let me know about NVIDIA. We're going to talk a little bit about the broader market here and tech, as we normally do. But chime in, folks. Let Philip know if you think NVIDIA is a buy. Yeah, so fine. Good morning. Let's make some money on this hump day. I absolutely love that attitude. Yeah, so fine. I second and I re-raise you your own comment. Gringo Loco. Good Twitter handle there. Good morning, my man. Torloff, good morning. Jeff, you guys were saying Jeff is a troll. Should we do like Gladiator? Oh, you're out of here. See ya, Jeff. Take your negative attitude somewhere else. Booglog, good morning. Bill, good morning. Ed, good morning. Richard, good morning. And Tyler, good morning. Welcome back, folks. We're going to go ahead and get started here with the SPY chart today. Good morning, Neville. It's great to see you. We're going to go ahead and get started with the SPY chart today. Tyler wants to take a look at Microsoft. Let me add it to the list, Tyler. That's a great one. And actually, why don't we start here real quick with this? Boom. So Wednesday, here we go. Again, as far as the earnings go, we did have some here this morning. Probably going to take a look at Cat here, if any of you are trading that. But also, we have Microsoft and Meta tonight. Those are going to be your two big reports. Honorable mention there to Robinhood, because this group definitely likes to trade that. And that's been a pretty good mover for us recently. But let's think about that. Let's think about Microsoft. Let's think about Meta. And let's think about how maybe we can trade some of those here. Are you going to trade it for earnings? Are you waiting for the earnings print? Interested in all of that. Here is the look ahead. The other thing here is that if you want to trade options, you're going to have to load up on those today before the earnings reports tomorrow. So that pretty much means if you're looking for CVS, KKR, MasterCard, or Lilly, you likely have to be positioned today. Nonetheless, Microsoft added to the list. Let's go ahead and start here with SPY. Let me see. Good morning, JJ. Okay, let's go ahead and start here with SPY. A lot of good news out there. A lot of good news out there, especially when looking at the chart here. Looking at the daily chart, we have another close now above the 10% pullback level. This is a lot of talk about this being one of the quickest pullbacks in history. It's also one of the quickest rebounds in history. Amazing that that's not getting talked about as much. But I'm not surprised. We did close above that 552 level. We'll see if we can actually gear up to the next level above. It's clearly defined for me here at the 50-day moving average. That's at 558.5. We'll see if we have enough strength to get above that. It's also worth noting that not far above that at 573 is going to be that 200-day. And also right before we're actually banging up against that level here. So this is another level just ahead of that 10% pullback level I'd really like to get above. That would be 555. We actually saw some of that in the regular session too, kind of banged against that level. We'll see if we can take that one out here and continue to trade back higher. Here's the crazy thing. You take a look at this monthly chart. Now, I know I got some drawings on here. Let me hide them here real quick. You take a look at this monthly chart. What does that look like, folks? Yeah, that looks like a hammer. That looks like a pretty big hammer. We'll see if that plays out as well. Again, a lot of stuff to watch here, a lot of moving parts. SPY here looking pretty good, though. Downside levels, in case this can't hold or roll over, obviously the 552 level that we've closed above now, we'd like to close above that again, frankly. So we're going to watch that level here today. We might end up giving it up. We're currently sitting at 552 right now. And then also we have this downtrend line. So if we trade back down, really the question is going to be, do we get support at that line? If we trade all the way back down, break this and retest some of the 15, then some of this bounce was just very, very short-lived, and we'll have to reassess from there. But so far, right at a pretty important level. We'll see if we can get above 558.5 here today. Close above that would mark for a pretty productive day. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and start with one of the stories here. U.S. stock futures fall after Tuesday's rally, but history favors the bulls. Market rose 9 of the last 10 Mays. So y'all know the sell in May and go away adage. It gets talked about every single year. We actually have some stats showing that that's not all that great. And then I have an added stat to bring you that came directly from our happy hour group last night. So exciting about that. Quick little rundown here. U.S. stock futures declined Wednesday morning, even as major indexes closed higher on Tuesday, with the S&P 500 and Dow Jones logging their 6th consecutive day of gains, marking their longest winning streak in months. Easing on the auto tariffs helped markets with a fresh dose of optimism going into a jam-packed earnings week. We talked about this really kind of being the biggest earnings week of this earnings season. And so far, we seem to have made it through without any real craziness. Knock on wood. Did I just jinx it? Yikes. With several heavy hitters, including 4 of the Magnificent 7 companies, set to release their quarterly results over this week. Remember, if we go back to the sheet here, we actually still have some big ones to go. So I know I just kind of made a joke about jinxing us. We'll see if I'm joking afterwards or if I'm really the culprit here. Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Apple all still yet to report here. So we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out when we end up getting those reports. But so far, it's been all right. On Tuesday, President Trump hinted at trade negotiations with India were, quote, coming along great, end quote, and that the administration is close to announcing a deal, further adding optimism, according to a report by CNBC. Now, this is a big one. I know that there are going to be people on both sides of this, and I don't really care what side you're on for this. I'm just going to try and bring you as much information as possible. One of the things that we discussed yesterday in the happy hour is that there's a very real possibility that the bottom is in here. I know, bears don't want to hear that, but there's a possibility that that's the case. And one of the reasons that we were discussing this is because in the event of us getting one or multiple trade deals, the topic kind of revolved around how are you going to trade this? And really it came down to you want to be positioned ahead of this. So this is going to be one of those things. Might be difficult to try and chase some of this. You really want to be, for the biggest gains, you really want to be positioned ahead of this. We've been trying to do this back and forth. We've been trying to do this on when we felt that the market is up. We've been trying to do this when we felt that the market is down. No one has done it better than Matt Maley, who has come on here on a weekly basis and talked about that. I've shared a lot of his trades here that have really worked well. He's been hitting both sides of the whole thing, and it's been really good. So we'll see if we can continue doing that here. But the administration is close to that. Sorry. Investors on Wednesday will be closely watching the earnings of tech giants Microsoft, Meta, Qualcomm, and KLA, which should set the tone for the rest of the week. Again, hope I didn't just jinx us there, but we'll see how these all shake out. I wanted to go down to, Visa here. Yassine, you had asked about Visa here real quick. Visa, Coca-Cola, and Pfizer reported strong earnings, while Starbucks fell short of estimates during its second quarter results on Tuesday. Brian Niccol, the CEO that came from Chipotle, did say that he's been a part of many turnarounds before, which is true, and all of the signs that he sees are that the turnaround is going well and should be successful. So too early to say if that is the case, but the report from him is fairly optimistic. I know he was highly valued CEO coming from Chipotle, the whole 9 yards. So we'll see if Starbucks gets turned around there. I did notice in the report, and I'm trying to recall this from memory, so I beg your pardon. I believe that the United States ordering was up 1%, and the international ordering was up 6%. There was also a report on CNBC this morning that China was not nearly as bad as feared, and that was kind of a surprise to some of those folks. So again, we'll see how it all shakes out here. No position on Starbucks for me. If you guys trade Starbucks, I'd love to know about that. I'd love to know what your outlook is or how you actually attack that. We can take a look at the chart if that's helpful as well. Let's see. There was another. Oh, here we go. Chartered market technician Ryan Dietrich says that the markets have ended up higher in May for 9 of the past 10 years, posting a graphic on X to illustrate this point. The one outlier there in 2019, down by 6.6%. So maybe we should call it sell in June instead of sell in May and go away. One of the other things that we had discussed in the happy hour yesterday, and this is courtesy of a former analyst who joins us all the time, he had said that stats-wise, yeah, that is true. But in some cases, if the market is down year to date, so in 2025, we are actually down from January 1st. If the market is down, this move is more pronounced. The sell in May move is more pronounced. So we'll see how it shakes out here. I don't expect us to go positive on the year by the end of the day or by the 1st of May here. So we are going to have that negative year. We'll see if this ends up bucking the trend. But here you go. Here are some stats for the last 10 years here. Only one of those Mays has been down by 6.6%. The average returns in May over the past 10 years stand at 0.9%, with a median of 1.1%. However, it's worth noting that this is a relatively new phenomenon. A few years ago, sell in May and go away was a popular adage in the markets, since the markets were known to underperform in the summer months. Now, this adage is still well known. I am almost certain that you folks are going to hear this when we get into May or as we go through May. I am almost certain of that. So even if I don't say it, or even if I don't report on it here, I suspect you're going to hear it from some others. Okay. That was really the stat that I wanted to go over. I really wanted to cover. Let's go back to the chart and let's talk about SMCI. Who traded SMCI for earnings? Who traded SMCI for earnings? We get asked about this one quite a bit here. This stock is no stranger to going through some craziness. And we are down 18.3% here in the pre-market. So first of all, starting with the daily chart here, you can see we actually did poke above the parallel channel that has really been great to us on a number of different tech names. But again, here on SMCI, one of the things we started to do is we really started to trade sideways, which did kind of feel like, ooh, I think we're bucking this trend, right? We're not having some type of V bottom or V recovery, but perhaps we're bucking the downtrend that this was all in. Remember, they had a whole bunch of accounting issues, this, that, and the other thing, delayed reports, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of felt like that. And maybe, just maybe, we were starting to breach the top of that channel and maybe curl up. This earnings report throwing some cold water on that, at least temporarily here. We are falling back into the parallel channel here with this minus $6.60 move on the back of some pretty poor preliminary guidance. I'm sorry if I said earnings. I believe they report May 6th, right? Tuesday, May 6th, we got some preliminary earnings here. We're going to go through that here in a sec. Sorry for the misspeak here, but the point still holds. We're actually back into the parallel channel. As far as the next target goes, one of the big things that we want to see is, do we hold this 28 handle? This is, so you can actually, if you back out here, you can see that this was support multiple times in this sideways move that we are making or in the process of making. To me, this downside level right here, it's $1.30 away from where we're at right now. This is going to be one of your key downside levels. I think if we snap that, we probably make a move back towards the center of that channel. And oh my goodness, that puts us at 10, maybe even single digits, but depending on how long it takes to get down there. Now, I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen here. And to be honest, if you just continue to extend this parallel channel without making any changes to it, it's eventually going to go into negative numbers, which of course the stock price is not going to do, I don't think. But in any case, it does look like we're still in the channel. We really can't bust out of that. These preliminary numbers, not great. We'll see how the stock responds on the actual earnings date. If maybe by then all of the bad news is out, we'll try this again to get out of here. But this is where the chart sits right now, below a lot of those moving averages. We actually may have a death cross here pretty soon, depending on what happens. We're actually already under, the 50's already under, and it looks like it might try and test that again and get rejected. We'll see where that ends up going. I know 13, one of the things he's talked about a lot recently is when you have these moving averages cross back and forth in a short amount of time, it makes it less reliant on that as a signal. So we'll see here what those do, but not great here for SMCI. We'll see if this is kind of the flush and the bottom, but so far here, not great. Let's actually dive into the story here. Supermicro computer stock is tanking after hours. What's fueling the sell-off? They reported weak preliminary results for the third quarter and after the market closed, citing delayed customer platform decisions that move sales into the fourth quarter. The company now expects to report third quarter revenue of $4.5 billion to $4.6 billion, down from the prior guide of $5 to $6 billion. Supermicro also expects third quarter adjusted earnings to be in the range of 29 cents to 31 cents per share, down from prior guidance of 46 to 62. It further noted that GAAP and non-GAAP gross margin for the third quarter was 220 basis points lower than the second quarter, primarily due to higher inventory reserves resulting from older generation products and expedited costs to enable time to market for new products. Supermicro will report audited results for the third quarter after the market closes on May 6th. Now, that's important there, right? They went through their whole thing with their auditor. They're going to report those audited results here May 6th. Company executives will further discuss the shortfall on a conference call scheduled for 5 p.m. on May 6th. Now, that is likely to be important here. If you are into tech at all, or you really want to trade SMCI, I think that's definitely going to be one of the things that you need to pay attention to, that conference call. Other chip companies were facing similar selling pressure following the preliminary release, including NVIDIA, which was down 1.84% in sympathy. Micron ticked down, Dell ticked down, Dell down 4.8% on the back of that. So, okay. That is SMCI. We'll see if they have all of their troubles here behind them. Let me know if you folks are going to trade SMCI. Does that change anything for you here? If you think that this has bottomed out, if we have actually bottomed out here, is this a buyable bottom? Is this a buyable bottom? This thing has made a huge move up when the AI craze was going on. I can imagine that there are plenty of folks that want to take advantage of that as well. Next here, let's talk about Meta. I feel like it's actually been a hot minute since we've talked about Meta. This was the last Mag 7 to really kind of give up its 200-day. We did that. We actually never even came down to the 500-day, which is pretty incredible. Some of these other stocks did that and actually broke their 500-day. Meta actually looks like it's trying to get back up to that 200-day. We do have this impending death cross We'll see if we end up getting that there, though. And then also, we are at a pretty important level, pretty much right here, right? 557. If we can get above 557, that puts some of these moving averages squarely in sight as some of those next levels. We'll see if we end up doing that. Let's take a look at the story here. Meta Platforms Q1 earnings preview. Remember, this comes after the close here today. Yes, after the close here today. I'm getting all these tickers mixed up here. Analysts expect weak guidance. Will the company continue its streak of revenue beats? Now, Meta Platforms could highlight its progress in artificial intelligence when it reports the first quarter financial results after the market close on Wednesday. I still think AI is one of the variables here. If there's really good stuff here about AI in any of these calls or in any of the numbers, I think the stocks are going to respond positively to that. But really the question is going to be, is there anything positive? Does it go to the bottom line? And how useful is it actually? We'll see. Here are the analyst earnings estimates. Here are the analyst earnings estimates, excuse me. Analysts expect Meta Platforms to report first quarter revenue of $41.39 billion. That's up from $36.45 billion. The social media and technology company has beaten analyst estimates for revenue in 10 straight quarters. Analysts expect the company to report first quarter earnings per share of $5.28, up from $4.71 in the last year's first quarter. Company has beaten analyst estimates for earnings per share in 8 straight quarters. 8 straight quarters. That is actually one of the things here for Meta that has really, really done well for it. If you take a look back in Benzinga Pro, you can actually see this fairly well represented. There are only a few quarters here where Meta actually surprises to the downside. They are in the habit of beating a lot and very, very often, and we're going to see if they do the same thing here. With the potential of downward revisions to fiscal 2025 guidance for revenues, margins, EPS, and free cash flow, Needham analyst Laura Martin recently reiterated an underperform rating on Meta. Martin said there's also a concern that there could be upward revisions to capital expenditures and losses at the company's Reality Labs division, Her estimate for first quarter revenue is $40.5 billion and earnings per share of 4.82. Both figures are below the analyst consensus estimates. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified in the FTC antitrust trial that the amount of time people spend on Facebook and Instagram has, quote, gone down meaningfully, end quote. As someone that gave up Facebook over a decade ago, nothing could make me happier on that. I still don't really understand. I still think Meta, for the most part, is a net negative. I understand businesses have some success there, which is great, but not a huge fan of the product itself or how it's run. Freedom Capital Markets Chief Global Strategist Jay Woods said that the key questions ahead of earnings revolve around advertising spending by Chinese companies, AI initiatives and their contribution to growth, and how much time daily active users are spending on Meta's platform. Let me ask the group here, are any of you spending time on Meta? Do you guys guys and gals like Meta? Do you opt to spend time there? Do you often feel like you spend too much time there and you wish you didn't, or you kind of got sucked into reading things or something like that? Let me know. Not having a account myself, I'd like to know from others what you think about that. Meta shares are 26% below their 52-week highs and currently embroiled in litigation, which has taken CEO Mark Zuckerberg away from his daily activities. Again, that came from Jay Woods there. Here are some other recent analyst ratings, just to kind of give you some context there. Loop Capital maintained a buy, lowered the price target to $695. That price target came from $900. Stifel maintained a buy, price target to $628. Benchmark maintained a buy, price target to $640. Scotia Bank maintained sector perform, price target to $525. And Morgan Stanley maintained overrate, price target to $615. There is street high, if I'm not mistaken. Loop Capital is still the street high. Anyway, more. So there's all the estimates are coming down, but Meta, it's actually still, given where Meta's at right now at 544, still pretty good on a lot of these. So we'll see. Meta likely won't discuss its ongoing antitrust litigation. Still, commentary on growth or usage of Instagram and WhatsApp could provide key could provide key given these segments, could provide the key given these segments could be forced to be spun out from the company in the future. In the fourth quarter, total revenue was up 21% year over year for the company. Investors and analysts will be looking for some of the positive momentum to continue in the first quarter in areas like daily active users, ad impressions, and average price per ad. With the macroeconomic environment and tariff concerns, there is the possibility that Meta platforms saw lowered advertising demand. Costs and expenses will likely be another key topic in the recent report, saying that the company was laying off people from its Reality Labs division on top of a large company-wide headcount reduction in February. Progress with AI initiatives is likely to be a large focus from investors and analysts in the company during the earnings call. Quote, "We continue to make good progress on AI glasses in the future of social media. I'm excited to see these efforts scale further in 2025. That came from Zuck. I will say that the big AI thing that I'm going to be disappointed if it's Meta. That's the first to this, but the thing that I'm really waiting for is a pair of smart glasses that are able to track my golf shots and read a green slope. If I get that, it almost doesn't matter what the brand on the side of it is. I'm going to end up throwing my money at it. So there you go. Also goes on to say, we're launching the first version of the Meta AI app, the assistant that gets to know your preferences. That's scary. Remembers context and is personalized to you. Can I opt out, please? Anyway, that's coming here pretty soon. Meta AI is being used across all Meta platforms. The launch of standalone AI app will likely be a highlight for the company and could be in focus in Wednesday's commentary. So we'll see if we end up getting that out of Meta's conference call here today. Anyone trading Meta? I know that this is fairly popular amongst people. Peter says, I agree with you 100% on Meta. Lion says, Meta is for nobody. I hate it. Lucas says, I've always hated it. I don't have an account. Joshua is wondering if there's calls on Meta. Well, so Joshua, let me ask you this. I would say that to me, it sure looks like, just kind of going with the chart, taking my personal opinion of the company completely out of this. Looking at the chart, it sure does look like the price kind of wants to test this area, does it not? So I wouldn't be, we're currently at 545. I would be completely unsurprised if this stock made a $30 move to the upside. That would put us at about 575. And I think that the stock would really kind of be trying to test this area. The other thing that we would have here is we'd actually, and remember, Mark Petrino talked a little bit about this, right? Talked a little bit about when price comes in from one of those areas and kind of oscillates here, maybe this is the price discovering a reversal point. So to your question here, this is really going to be up to you, Joshua, calls on Meta. Maybe if you think it's going to break out of this here, if you think these moving averages are going to give it any type of launching pad, if you will, or start the next run here, this actually could be a pretty decent spot. That's going to be up to you, frankly. I don't know. Like I said, just trying to remove my personal bias out of this entire thing. We are at we're getting to a kind of a critical spot here. We're either going to see a rejection or a potential reversal and breakout here. So you tell me what you think about that. If I like that, okay. You need friends if you're on Facebook and the people you know from your hometown you grew up with. Josh, you were mentioning this looks like a coiled spring. So this is just kind of getting back to what we were just talking about here. If this moves to the upside, I think it will behave like a coiled spring. I don't know whether it's going to break out or break down, but if it does, you should get that coiled spring action in there. No question. Day Trader says, if you don't have my phone number, we don't know each other well enough for you to have direct access to me. Amen, brother. And I'll be honest, sometimes you can get phone numbers. Like, people have gotten my phone number that I did not intend for them to get. So I agree with this wholeheartedly here. And even so, even in that case, they can end up getting your number there. So I don't know. We'll see here on Meta. We'll see what's going on. Okay, did we get a data print here? I thought it was 8:30. Looks like we're a minute early here. We did have GDP data coming at 8:30, and then the Chicago PMI coming at 9:45. Oh, that was one more thing. Tim Melvin misses all of you. Unfortunately, we're not going to have Tim here today. He's fine. He told you the last time he was on, he was moving, and the movers that he's relying on actually showed up during the segment that he was supposed to be on here today. So he's not going to be around here this morning. We will have him back. He said, Ryan, make sure that you tell them all that I miss them and that I'm coming back. He said, I know I'm a little old, but I'm not expiring. Dude's an absolute national treasure. So unfortunately, we won't have him today, but we will be getting him back pretty soon. So, okay, let me see here if we did end up getting that data print real quick. GDP quarter over quarter for Q1, 0.3 to the downside versus the positive 0.2 estimate. The prior read was plus 2.4%. USA core PCE prices here 3.5% versus the 2.6% prior read. S&P futures here look like they're ticking down, although they look like they're bottoming here. Am I late? No, we're pretty much right on here. USA PCE prices for Q1, 3.6% versus 2.4%. Again, S&P futures did move down from the level that we were at earlier, although it does look like it's trying to bounce right here and hold on to 550. We'll see if we do hold on to 550 by the opening print. We'll check back in on that. Let me go back to the chart tool here real quick. We can actually take a look at SPY before we move on here. Let's see what's going on. Here we go. So this looks like this is exactly what happened when we got that print. So far, we're holding this 550 area. Remember, I told you we want to see if we can break above 552. We're right in there. We'll see which way this ends up breaking and if either of them can get reclaimed on that. Oakley's Prism Dark Golf lenses with Spectrum Tech are recommended for ranges and greens. James, I am going to screenshot that comment and I am going to look into that when I have some free time this evening. My fear is that if I start looking into that now, I'll disregard some of my other duties, and we don't want that. Big boom there for the SPY as we did break through that 550 here, 549.59. We'll see where we settle up here on the SPY. Okay. Next one, let's talk about Microsoft because we are going to have that Microsoft print later here today. Microsoft Q3 earnings preview, cloud AI guidance, top items analysts are highlighting to watch. We just talked a little bit about some of the AI angles there with Meta. There's going to be a much bigger one here with Microsoft. Technology giant Microsoft could be one of the most watched stocks of the week when the company reports the third quarter financial results after the market closes on Wednesday. Here are the earnings estimates. A look at what analysts are saying. Analysts expect Microsoft to report third quarter revenue of $68.44 billion. That's up from $61.86 billion in the last quarter. Company has beaten analyst revenue estimates in 8 straight quarters and 9 of the last 10 quarters overall. Analysts expect Microsoft to report third quarter earnings per share of 3.22, up from 2.94 last quarter. Microsoft has beaten analyst earnings and the per share estimates in 10 straight quarters. Remember, a lot of these earnings that they're reporting, these are going to be backward looking. So the guide has really been important here. We're going to be focusing on that again as well. Freedom Capital Markets Chief Global Strategist Jay Woods, he's making the rounds here today, emphasized the importance of Microsoft's financial results in a weekly newsletter. Quote, considering we are dealing with the top market caps in the world, the price impact will move the markets, but all but Meta are in both the Dow and the S&P, and all 4 stocks are the top holdings in their specific sector ETFs. Woods said Meta Platform, Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon. So again, just outlining the concentration of these. Another discussion that we had yesterday in the happy hour is that if the tech unwind continues to be more of a rotation than a run for the exits, that is actually going to set up a much better market going forward, as we should have more portfolio diversification and we shouldn't have to just pile into the same couple of names. I look forward to that, but I'm at the point now where I kind of want to see it. I'm a tech guy through and through. Technology is a huge part of my life. I certainly don't see it going anywhere. How that actually is reflected in some of these stocks is yet to be seen. But Just kind of thinking about that here. Microsoft shares are 16% below their highs and flat for the last year. The company continues to spend on AI, and investors want to see how this investment is being integrated into their product suite and what impact that will have on revenue. We talked a little bit about Microsoft Excel. I saw some more things floating around here earlier that Excel's dead. And AI killed Excel. And there's, little tombstones with the Microsoft Excel logo on it. I just don't know. I don't necessarily think any of that stuff is true here. In any case, the company continues to spend. Oh, sorry, I already read that. Wedbush and Dan Ives recently highlighted Microsoft as one of several software stocks that could be part of what's called a, quote, security blanket from the Cat 5 storm that includes trade wars, tariffs, and political uncertainties. He noted that the supply chain is, quote, visibly clouded. Companies with software are a safer bet, with Microsoft being one example. There are the analysts also said that, quote, the AI party is just getting started. That's really the big caveat here, because I do believe that we're in the infancy here of AI. What kind of impact is that going to have long term? Yet to be seen here. Goldman Sachs analyst Cash Reagan was one of several analysts to cut the price target on Microsoft stock ahead of earnings, taking the target from 500 to 400 while reiterating the buy rating. The analyst said Microsoft still remains a compelling name in software, but is concerned about several potential near-term headwinds. Rangan is specifically cautious about Microsoft guidance, as there could be, quote, some downside risk if the non-AI growth slows. KeyBank analyst Jason Adder recently downgraded Microsoft from overweight to sector weight. Let me know what you folks. Do you guys like Microsoft? Is that a decent one to trade here? Are you looking for that? Let me know. S&P futures continuing to tick down here. Should be good for the shorts that we still have on. We'll see if we have the ability to close some of those here today. We are innovating across our tech stacks and helping customers unlock the full ROI of AI to capture the massive opportunity ahead. Of course, Satya Nadella is going to say that. Makes a lot of sense. As mentioned by Woods, Microsoft could be one of the most important stocks of the week due to its presence in several top indexes. So we'll see how these reports do. We'll see if it changes anything that we get here today. Okay, let me catch up here real quick. Dogs of Laura. I might be huge on my 2K inputs. There you go. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that we had a lot of shorts going in here to today. Pete took some SQQQ after hours last night, looking pretty good. Was that on the back of any of the reports last night? That trade should be pretty good too. Starbucks here got downgraded by Goldman and RBC, lowered its target from 95 or 295 from 100. So how often do I use AI to make my spreadsheets after the last 20 years? You tell me. How long do you use AI to create your spreadsheets? I'm old fashioned. I still use formulas and I still reference other cells, the whole 9 yards. I don't use the whole AI thing. Okay, what time is it here? We got still several minutes here before 13 shows up, which means we are going to talk a little bit about PayPal. Let me go back to Pro here. We'll start with the PYPL chart. Here it is. Here is PayPal as we are breaking above a downtrend line. Now, PayPal's down here 1.5% today, but we're actually still above this trend line. If we zoom in a little bit more, you'll notice here that we do have the 50 kind of crossing below the 500. It sure looks to me like this 67 to 67.5 area is going to provide some pretty significant resistance. Be interesting to see if PayPal can get above this here, but this spot, we are definitely at some resistance. The good thing here is that maybe we're kind of coiling because we also have this downtrend line that may provide some support for us. We'll see if that's the case. Let's see what the story tells us here about PayPal. I've got actually two that are kind of related here. PayPal CEO says it's moving quickly to bring crypto stablecoin benefits to users. Just right off the surface here, does this move the needle for any of you? Just out of curiosity. During the company's first quarter earnings call, CEO Alex Chris said PayPal was, quote, making strides and, quote, moving quickly to bring the benefits of cryptocurrency and stablecoins to its user base. Quote, last week, we introduced the ability to earn rewards for holding PYUSD. Day trader, is this worth it? Are any of these stable coins worth it, frankly? PYUSD, never seen that here before, or never even really thought about that here before, but here we go. This will increase the adoption and use of digital currencies for everyday commerce, from sending money internationally to making purchases and more. Regarding PYUSD, the top executive said PayPal has been strengthening its ties with cryptocurrency industry giants such as Coinbase Global to facilitate easier access and usage. My read on that right away, forget the stable coin for a sec. My read on this is that this is yet another gut punch to the thesis that Bitcoin is going to zero. You don't do these things. You don't have these conversations if you honestly believe that that is what's going to happen. Now, could that happen? Sure. I am not betting on that. If you're going to bet on that, that's totally fine. Be careful. I'm not betting on that. This is another gut punch here. Bitcoin's here to stay. Hate to break it to you. What's it worth? Can't tell you that with any type of certainty. It's going to change, and we're going to trade that change. But this is here to stay. And I know that ruffles some feathers with some people. Moreover, the company's strategic move to add PYUSD to the Solana blockchain. There's that Solana again. This is good. Yes, this is good. Would agree with this. Adding PYUSD to the Solana blockchain is seen as an attempt to expand its crypto-related services. This move is in line with the rising dominance of stablecoins and the global financial system, as highlighted by tech investor Chamath Palihapitiya. He noted that the weekly transaction volumes of stablecoins have surpassed that of Visa. PayPal has strategically invested in digital assets, particularly stablecoins, to capitalize on their growing importance in the global financial system. Last year, it launched PYUSD, a dollar-backed cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain. And as of this writing, the stablecoin had a market cap of $880 million, making it the sixth largest overall. Additionally, PayPal allows customers to buy and sell crypto such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, as well as use them for online purchases. The company reported its first quarter financials on Tuesday, beating earnings predictions but falling short of revenues. Just as a really quick question here, has anyone actually used Bitcoin to purchase something? When I got my new car, I asked the guy, I said, do you take Bitcoin? And he kind of chuckled and said no. So I had to use some of the Bitcoin and convert it to fiat and use it that way. So technically, I've never even used Bitcoin to pay for anything directly. I'm curious if y'all folks have done that of any size. We all know the famous story about 2 pizzas years and years ago and how that guy wishes he could get that back. I'm just curious if any of you have actually used Bitcoin for payments. Yes, Jay Diamond is back. Yes, criminals running the government. So it's a good time for Bitcoin. I was wondering where you were going to go, Jay Diamond. I was wondering. First of all, I got to ask you, how did the MicroStrategy short wind up? There was plenty of time and plenty of down movement that I got to imagine you at least booked some gains for that. Where do you see it going next? And do you have any levels? And perhaps most importantly, my man, welcome back. I personally have missed you and the little Jamie Dimon avatar that you bring with you. Let me know. Let me know what you see from here, and welcome back. Shares of PayPal dipped a little. I think that was it here. And it's the Benzinga rankings kind of in the middle there. Nothing really totally notable. But I did want to go to this. This is not necessarily related, but this one I care about a little bit more, I guess you could say. And then we'll bring 13 on here. PayPal says buy now, pay later users spend 33% more and make 17% more transactions. So they are pushing for a global rollout. Now, right off the top here, I'd like to know what you folks think about this. I view this as a negative. Just so you know where I sit on this, I definitely think that this is bad personally. PayPal is seeing strong momentum with its buy now, pay later services, while significantly higher user engagement and larger transaction sizes as it expands the offering globally. During its first quarter earnings on Tuesday, PayPal highlighted key developments in its buy now, pay later service, a short-term financing option that lets consumers defer payments on purchases, starting with a 0% APR and no late fees. Now, I don't want to completely smack talk buy now, pay later as a system. I'm personally using it right now on my telephone. No interest. no late fees. So there's definitely applications for it. What I'm mostly concerned about here is the proliferation of that. I only use this on very, very small things. Buy now, pay later users spend 33% more per transaction on PayPal, over PayPal's overall average of 69.53. The company said they also complete 17% more transactions than the average of 59.4 active accounts per active account, over the past 12 months. So buy now, pay later is letting the customer spend more, and they do it more frequently. I got to think that this is going to catch up with them eventually. Although PayPal launched its buy now, pay later service in 2020, the company credits recent tech giants to its improved pay sheet that clearly showcases its full range of payment options. The service has also received greater visibility through the marketing campaigns, including featuring actor Will Ferrell. I got to say, as much as I do like PayPal and have used it for so long, the Will Ferrell PayPal commercials are awful. They are awful. And I'm just like sad every time one comes on TV, and I'm not alone on that. Not the greatest commercials. They get stuck in your head. They're super annoying. Will Ferrell's over the hill, in my opinion. Anyway, despite inherent credit risk to the buy now, pay later offerings, PayPal CFO Jamie Miller said that the charge-off rates remain stable and are improving. Okay, that's good, but for how long? That's my question. Quote, in particular, with respect to consumer portfolios, we've actually seen delinquencies over the last 30 days improve. Okay, maybe I'm off base on this. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I still have a little bit of worry, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I will be open to that. The company's CEO, Alex Chris, considers buy now, pay later a key growth lever going forward, with plans of an international rollout later this year. Quote, we will continue to lean into buy now, pay later throughout this year with targeted consumer awareness campaigns in the UK and Germany, and continued investment in other priority global markets, including Australia, France, Italy, and Spain. So let me know what you think about buy now, pay later. Would you use it? Is this going to create a problem? And is any of what they just said about that concerning? In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and talk to 13, see how he's doing here. Good morning, my man. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing just fine this morning. How's everybody else?
Everyone's good. I know everyone's a little bit disappointed that we couldn't have Tim here today. Tim said he missed you and everyone else. Everything's fine. We're going to have him back. He's just finishing off his move, which is very important. So, okay, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with, you want to offer your opinion here on the buy now, pay later stuff that I was just talking about with PayPal?
Oh, geez.
I know.
I don't like buy now, pay later. I just think it's just another way to indebt the consumer.
Our chat's getting it here. Buy now, pay never. Buy now, pay never. That's the big thing. Isn't buy now, pay later like using a credit card? Yes, but
probably worse.
It's probably worse, right? Because it almost gives the feeling like, oh, you're going to be okay. Like we're saying here, buy now, pay later, or buy now, pay never. Excuse me. If you continue to do that with credit cards, you will rack up such extravagant interest charges. You just won't be able to do that, or they'll just either close your account or stop you from purchasing. That's actually happened to me when I was irresponsible in a previous life. Yeah, it is similar here, but it's easy to do, and it seems like, first of all, one of the things about buy now, pay later, and I didn't actually have stats on this, but some of the thought here is, well, if you can't use your credit cards anymore, then you can go to buy now, pay later, and now you're just leveraging that debt more and more. So, just on the surface here, I don't like it. I agree here. I agree with James. I do agree. I think it will catch up with them if they don't have some serious limits.
And you're right, Cam. You're right. Debt equals consumer debt equals profits. But
yeah, consumer debts equals profits for these companies. That's true. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. For me personally,
until there's too many defaults,
the whole thing worries me. Yeah.
Until there's too many defaults, and then you get into a GFC situation.
Now, they did say that, like I kind of finished off with some quotes there. They did say that they're seeing delinquencies go down. So maybe this is just becoming more a part of Typical American spending. Yeah, get in there.
And according to Visa's report yesterday, they still see spending being strong. So,
you know what, 13, I don't know if I could have written a better segue than what you just did there. Yassine had asked about Visa earlier as a stock to cover. As you mentioned, they reported earnings. You just did a masterful job of tying it to what we were doing. So stuff the question about movers. We're actually going to start with Visa here. I'll start with the chart. Visa here, look, it's down 1.79% here in the pre-market, 335. Here's the level. Here's why that's important. That level is right here on the trend line that we've recently taken out. Now, it does look like Visa got rejected here at the 50-day moving average. Well, this to me are going to be your two key levels here today, 339.48, and then right where we're sitting at, let's call it 335, right? I'm basically eyeballing it, but right off that trend line. If we take a look inside, you can see this did pop yesterday on some of those earnings, ended up giving some of it back, and then gave more of it back on the GDP print this morning. So we'll see. Here's the trend line. You can see it's literally sitting right there on the trend line. Now, 13, did you have anything in here that you wanted to cover regarding that Visa report or anything you wanted to mention?
Oh, well, not anything particular, but just talking about credit card companies, buy now, pay later. We just had earnings with Visa. They showed that they had a top and bottom line beat. They also authorized a new $30 billion common stock repurchase program, so they're trying to add more value to shareholders. But one of the things that I had seen here, and I don't know if it was a headline or if it was part of their earnings report comments, but they were saying that the revenue beat consensus as here we go. Yeah, revenue beat consensus as consumer spending stays strong. So I guess it was the beat of the expectation is what's lending to the thought that consumer strength is still hanging in there and robust.
Okay. Steve here, Go Steve D. I like how Klarna does pay in fours. Just did that with a new electric drum kit. Let's go. Are you the how good are you on the drums? That's cool. Same as buying it, but it splits the payment up. So Steve, this is kind of what I was saying. I think there are situations where this is good. That's exactly how my phone is, right? It's split up into 24, I think 24 payments, no interest. It makes it easy, right? Instead of having to shell out $1,000 for a phone or whatever it is, makes it actually pretty easy to just pay that monthly. So there are spots for this. My concern is that it's just growing too much. Do you have any thoughts on the chart here, 13, on where this might go or any key levels or anything like that? I know I kind of ambushed you with it, so it's no big deal if you don't have it. If you don't have it handy here. Yassine just asked about it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, for me, it's going to be about that 50-day SMA. You pointed it out earlier. Yeah. We traded above it after the earnings print. We're now back beneath it. The value of that moving average is $339.78. So we're beneath that at the moment. But I think we're going to need to see some close above that if we're going to continue upwards here. And then that 350 area looks particularly concerning for resistance. So even with a 50-day SMA recapture and start trading above it, still need to watch out for that 350. That could be a resistance area.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff there on Visa. Yassine, I think you had asked about this earlier. Let me know what you're thinking here with this. Are you thinking about trading this? If so, long or short? Do you have any key levels? Let me know. I'm sure we can take a look here on Visa. I'll also keep my eye open now that we're post-print. I'll keep my eye open, see if there's any option activity that's notable on this name. Okay, 13. Thanks for going with my really quick digression there. Did you want to hit movers, or was there anything else specific that you wanted to hit?
Let's move through the movers. How about that?
Okay, let's do it.
Which one do you want to look at first? I know that there is RGLS out there, but that's a buyout, so I don't think there's going to be any trade there with that one.
Okay, let's just cover it real quick here because someone did ask here. Did anyone catch RGLS this morning?
Had to be in it already.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there was anything to, let's see what's going on here. Looks like it had a different ticker there. I don't know if there was anything to catch. I guess maybe if you were able to
right down
buy some of this before the thing came out here, but this was just kind of a takeover PR. So you really kind of just had to be in this one. Yeah. Regulus Therapeutics shares are trading higher after the company announced that it entered into an agreement to be acquired by Novartis for $7 per share in cash. Current price here is $7.89.
Yeah. So don't know where that extra 89-cent premium is coming from, but I don't think there's a trade here. I think it's just going to, if anything, it's going to be traded to the downside, but I don't think there's a trade here. I think you're going to get a lot better movement out of some of the other ones we'll talk about here.
Yeah. A couple of things here. Green Machine, did you catch this? Were you in this? Are you making money off of this? Let me know, because that is absolutely worthy of a registering if you are. Bernhard here, scary when you see how many years it takes to pay off the balances if you only make minimum payments. That's back to our discussion on credit cards. Look, I dealt with that when I was a young adult. And I was trying to break away from my family. I dealt with that. And it is, I'll tell you something, in addition to the financial angle of it, there's a real anxiety and mental angle that just wears you down over time. I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to get my shit together, frankly, pardon my language, and get out from under that, because it changed my entire life. So it is very, very scary. It's one of the reasons why we talk about this a lot. So just a little personal aside there. I'm with you on that. Okay. Next.
I have JFBR. This is
Jeff Brands.
Jeff Brands. Yeah. So this is the one that is.
So is this the company from the troll that we had every morning? The guy that comes in here and trolls us with the down thumb that he got Gladiator today. I did the thing.
No idea.
Gladiator, and he got dumped. So I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make a joke here. JFBR, let's bring us back to reality here, 13.
Yeah. So this company is trading hard because they announced the sale of its Smart Repair Pro business for $11.8 million. This has 1.86 million shares in the float. They did a reverse split back in November, so that has allowed the share structure to be easier to trade. The company, these movers today didn't really have too many good financial data on them. This one in particular, I don't have any income statement data on it, but their balance sheet shows that they have $2.5 million in the bank. Didn't really see too many other things that were interesting about it. But when I did go over to the chart, this was, just as I was coming on, it was starting to rip up, and I even posted that it was in the chat. This broke out over 140. And went on a run all the way up to 186, and looks like it's setting up to make another move. So we'll see, because this market cap on the company prior to this move was 1.6 million. So selling their a part of their business is going to really increase their cash position in a very positive way, and it's being rewarded for that today. So we might be getting another move up here. Just have to wait and see. I don't have levels set up for this, but if
I got a couple that just kind of stand out here that we can start with. Really, this 140 area, which looks to be the first high area that we broke on this volume pop, that's also 3 cents below the VWAP. VWAP's always going to be a level for me, especially on these smaller, crappy ones. So I think if this thing could come in towards 140, 143, and then hold there, maybe we do have a potential bounce spot there. As far as upside levels, though, that we would have to look at. We're actually kind of at one here, maybe 170. I know we're a little bit off that, maybe 170 to 175. And then I'd also say $2 here. We actually made a run at two not terribly long ago. What day was that? March? So what? Just over a month ago, a month and a half ago?
I do like 250. I look to the left here, and when the price was coming down back in last year, managed to find some support at 250 for quite some time before it finally started losing it this year in January. We started trailing down beneath it much more significantly. But for 2024, it held up at 250 quite frequently. So I think that's going to be a really important level to watch for if we get up there. Now, here's the other interesting thing. If you draw a trend line from the high that we had earlier this morning to the high that we just made and keep it going, that almost lines up with about 250. So we could end up seeing a run in this one that could take it up to 250. So that would be, if I'm going to trade this one, which I might. We'll see what it does out of the open. But if it starts to go on a run, I'd expect that this would try to trade all the way up, maybe even a little bit past this trend line here on its way up to 250. I think I like 250 in this one if we go on a run.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Really good spot there. Cam, this comment here. Cam saying, we got to hear more about how you got out of that financial hole. I'd be happy to tell you. I'm okay telling with you, but I don't think you're going to like the answer. The way that I got out of that financial hole is I just said, you know what? I got goals in this life, including home ownership and being able to do things with my life that I really want to do. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is by being serious. And you're going to need to take some lumps early. So you've heard me say, without the bitter, the sweet just isn't as sweet. Well, I went as bitter as I could. I moved back in with my mom and I stopped spending money. And I did that for years. It delayed home ownership with me for years. I was a young adult living with my mom, which is never a good thing to say. I paid the price early. I bit the bullet. I was able to get over some of this, and now I'm able to put all of that behind me. So looking back on it, not the end of the world, but that's how I got out. I leaned on my family. Thank God I had. Leaned on my family at the time and really, really tightened the hatches. Really stopped spending. Really kind of dried up the spending faucet there and just did all of the saving that I could do to pay off debt. I was able to do it. It is possible. It is absolutely possible. Okay, that's as an aside there. Next here, IVF, and this is a ticker change. This used to be, actually, I think I have it in mind. This used to be INVO. Now it's IVF.
No. It used to be NAYA.
It did? Oh, my notes are wrong here then. Thank you, 13. Thank you, 13. Okay, NAYA. Sorry about that. Take it away, man.
So this ticker change, just like you said, they also had a situation here where they delayed their 10K filing. And I think they were delaying it because they wanted to do this ticker change. Because if you go to NAYA and you look at the news, you'll see that they did have that delayed filing back at the end of March. And then when you go back to IVF, you'll see that the news today is that they reported they released their 10K filing. So I think that was one of the reasons they were delaying it. They also did a reverse split that resulted in share structure being 574,000 shares. I was looking at the financial position of this one. Also, I think this is the same situation. No, actually, this one does have their financials that I can read. So still losing money. They have less than $1 million in the bank. And there was a lot that I couldn't remember everything, and I didn't write everything down. But the 10K that they ended up filing here today has quite a bit of information in it, especially with regard to regaining NASDAQ compliance. Even though they just filed their 10K, they still have to get that compliance back from NASDAQ. They have until June 30th. I think with this filing, they're not going to have a problem with that now. But there was a lot of other interesting things that were going on with IVF. I think one of the other things that I saw in there is the whole plan around this ticker change is because they're trying to split their oncology and fertility businesses. And that's supposed to take place after this, ticker change. It's supposed to now take place later on this quarter. So that could be another headline to watch for with IVF, is that they are going to spin off their oncology business or sell it. I'm not sure which, but that'll be a headline that we can watch for here with IVF.
Okay. Pretty decent range here today. I would think 240, 258 where the VWAP is. Those levels likely come back into play if this can hold its footing down here at 2. Looks like so far it's held 2. See if it's got some more strength to do that. Yeah.
We traded this before when it was NAYA. I still have levels here. How
about that? And actually, I should be able to check in on some of that short interest too, right? Yep, 6.66% of the float traded with 1 day to cover. That's pretty negligible. Okay, what do you got for levels, 13? What I'm going to do? I'm actually going to add them to the IVF chart instead of from your NAYA chart.
Okay, well, this has quite a bit of them, but we'll do it. So
I better add it to my other one then, real quick. Let me figure this out here real quick. IVF. All right, lay them on me.
I have levels at 210, 240, 285, 305, 365. And then
285, 305, right? Sorry.
Yep. And then 365, and then we'll stop at 415 for now. I have them going all the way up into the 7 handle, but we'll be here for a little while. So I'll start with those because there's been a lot of price action with just those levels alone today. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, indeed. I was gonna say this should be enough for us here today.
Yeah, and I think that'll be. I mean, unless this goes on a crazy run beyond the 331 high that it made. then yeah, I mean, this should be just fine. So let's get past the first step here of getting back above VWAP. That means we're going to see this move over 240 as well as 65 EMA. Has to hold this 210 area, which it's currently like either right at or just beneath. So let's just see what we get. We're going to get some better movement out of this out of the gate. So we'll see what it does then. But if it can't recapture VWAP, then we'll find something else.
Okay. Good stuff there. IVF. Let me go back to the movers workspace here. Next one I have is STSS. This is Sharps Technology here. Sharps Technology shares are trading higher after the company announced it received a $400,000 initial purchase order from IV Flushing Solutions business. That caused the stock to pop up here close to 8. Didn't quite get there. It was like almost 80% of a move there. We've kind of retraced 50% of this move, holding here at about 20.5%. VWAP at 669. Quick look around the horn here. Short interest of 61.06%. And that read came from 5 days ago. So we do have the updated short interest read in here. 1 day to cover. That day to cover comes on 357,000 shares of average volume. Today we've traded over 7 million. So shouldn't be any trouble. Float here 5.4. What do you got?
I didn't really look at this one, but it didn't show up on my radar for some reason. But anyway, let's take a look and see what we got here. Medical device company that does IVs and ultra low waste smart safety syringes. So this is a U.S. company. That's some great news because we're going to need some more of these products being made here. They did a 1 for 300 reverse split last week. So that's the reason for the float structure right now of 5.4 and probably the huge short interest reading. Other than that, I think this is just a matter of seeing if we're kind of going sideways here and look to recapture VWAP into the open here. It's been it made a high of 787, has not been able to get back up there since. It's steadily taken the staircase down. But it looks like it could be trying the bottom. So that's kind of what I would be waiting for with this one, with STSS, to see what we do out of the open. Just like that other one we were talking about. If this can start to recapture VWAP, have the MACD begin to curl back up, we might get this going here. But I need to see that happen first before I decide to take a trade on this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd be careful on this one. I was looking back to say, hey, what happened here when this thing really just kind of dropped on Thursday of last week? Went from like what, 8.5 down to $6. Yeah, well, what happened was they announced that reverse split that you already covered. So this thing traded down simply when they announced it. We're not even back to where it was at prior to announcing that reverse split. I'll be honest, this 850 level seems pretty important. If this thing's going to have any type of serious upside, that needs to get recaptured. So, okay, good stuff here. I don't know if I'll take a trade on this one either. 13. Next.
There was one that I don't know about either, but I had covered it anyway. It was FRGT.
Yep.
Freight Technologies. So this one's moving up because they had a financing through convertible notes up to 20 million, but they're going to take this capital and they're going to go and buy Trump coin.
You got to be kidding.
That's what the headlines say.
An official Trump token.
So
I bet our audience is going to love this.
So yeah, when I look at the chart, I can see why it did what it did. Basically, just had a nice big pop all the way up to 168, and then there's when they saw, oh, they're buying Trump coin, right back down underneath VWAP, down to 65 VMA, trying to recover and go back up to VWAP. Now, I don't know that it recaptures, but this could be one of these stocks that's just such a junky name that it could just do whatever it wants. It could be it could be $5 or it could be 5 cents. If it starts to trade and it gives us the movement and setups that we're looking for, we'll trade it. Just don't own this thing. I don't know a whole lot about how well Trump coin trades.
Robert is telling us that it has ripped recently. Okay, full disclosure, I don't look at the Trump coin either. I guess maybe I can pull it up on another window. Get in there, 13.
So basically, Robert, it's ripping now, and that means there has to be somebody to hold the bag and get all those traders out. Maybe it's FRGT that's going to spend 20 million to buy the top of Trump coin, or at least for the time being. I just don't know enough about Trump coin to know how good it is. But if this starts moving this morning, we're going to trade it. Like the other ones we were talking about, it needs to get back over VWAP.
On April 23rd, Trump coin went from 939 to 1603. And it kind of traded back and forth, and it's currently sitting at 1249. So it actually is down 7.5% today, and it's down from its high of 16. It's down 4 points to where it's at right now, but it is still 3 points higher than where it was prior to that recent rip. I don't know if any of that means anything to you. I've never traded or owned Trump coin. But FRGT might be a stock analog for that.
Yeah, and Data Trader, he's saying they're buying Trump coin. I think he said Cook. I think he means coin for access. I heard there are perks to holding Trump coin with the administration. So if that's the case, then maybe I do need to look into that, because if that's going to be something that starts to get purchased by a lot of other companies for the perks, I have to know what those perks are, because they're going to have a material effect on their business.
I think they were floating, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm just trying to go from memory here. I think they floated potential meeting some of the holders, like some of the bigger holders could actually meet. I don't know. Look, I know I'm kind of joking, going back and forth with Jay Diamond. Again, welcome back, Jay Diamond, about Bitcoin and its relevance and all of that. I am still very skeptical about a lot of these meme coins, whether they're Trump coins or something more unpalatable like fart coin or whatever it is. I'm not sold on some of these meme-ish coins here. And I think that is an entirely separate class from things like Bitcoin. But that's as an aside.
I'm hardly sold on crypto as well. I mean, for me, it's really just comes down to Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, but all these other ones, don't know enough about it, don't really care. So yeah, I probably should, since it's all these companies are buying them for perks, but I don't know if that's going to even be a real thing.
Yeah, I was going to say let's maybe give that some more time.
Yeah,
maybe that fizzles out by itself. I just say it. Okay, that looks like it for the movers. Was there any other charts that you wanted to cover just in general?
Not really. I saw some other former ex-girlfriends were showing up, like JTAI. That looks.
Should we take a look at that?
No, it's back down to start. The whole move is over. I mean, I'm just saying that I saw some. God. Yeah, like holy cow. Yeah. So I don't know if there's really any other movers we can take a look at, unless the chat says finding something that you want us to take a look at.
STFU says, "What's your problem, Ryan? You don't like rug pulls?" No, I try to avoid those. I try to avoid those to the best of my ability. Okay, I do have some stocks on the list here.
Sure.
From the chat. Should we just roll those right now?
Let's roll it.
Okay, first one here is going to be AGRI. This is a little guy. This is AgriForce. Now, this is one that we've traded off of the relative volume scanner. This moved on Wednesday, April 23rd. I can't remember off the top of my head what that was. The drones market projected to reach 8 billion by 2020.
When did it move? Did you say?
It said on the 23rd. That day looked like that was the 23rd. The morning, the after hours of the 22nd. I beg your pardon. So that's going to be Growing Systems provides an update on their Bitcoin mining operations. That's what this moved last time on.
Yep. And there was also a headline earlier this month about the completion of optimization at Sturgeon. They're all about Alberta mining facility.
The Alberta Bitcoin mining facility. Yep.
Yeah. So this being it says AgriForce, but it's a crypto play. So I guess that's maybe a financing vehicle.
It says it's a growing system in an ag tech company, which primarily focuses on developing and utilizing intellectual property assets.
Huh. Okay. What's the question?
I guess my question is what does Bitcoin mining have to do with any of this?
Well, that's why I was kind of wondering if it has to do with
you.
The financing of it. But it's, well, let's take a look at the financials, I guess we could go there. Income statement saying that they still operate at a loss, not very much revenue at all. Balance sheet has $500,000 in the bank. they're going to have to raise capital unless they have something in the news feed that, well, maybe there's where the Bitcoin angle comes in. So, so I don't have a really good read on our finances. It doesn't look great. I mean, their balance sheet isn't bad. They're not underwater, so that's fine. But I just would worry about potential share dilution if they have to raise capital.
3.83% of the float shorted with 2 days to cover. That days to cover comes on an average volume of 1 million. We haven't even traded 7,000 shares here today.
Now, I think the most interesting angle for me is their agricultural IP side, because we're getting into a situation where food is going to be, I think, a pretty big global, I guess phenomenon is not the right word, but it's a situation where there's going to be some people that are going to be starving, particularly over in China, if we can't come to some kind of tariff deal. But I think that's going to prompt a lot of other countries to start going at it themselves to maintain their food supply. So we could see something like this. We could also see something like this, like drought-resistant seeds. We've talked a lot about that. There could be a lot of interesting agricultural plays coming. It'd be one to watch here with AgriForce, but this seems more like a Bitcoin play at this stage. Yeah,
and just kind of looking at the chart here, 225 on a potential upside level. If we can crack that to the upside, maybe there will be some more juice here, but don't see it. And perhaps more importantly for playing here today, don't see any volume associated with this move.
That's going to be important, yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to watch for that. Okay, Agri, we talked about Visa. Did we look at NVIDIA yet today? Someone asked about NVIDIA. I don't know if we looked at it. This is down 4% here. This is down on the back of SMCI's report. This kind of moved with it. As far as levels go, stop me if you've heard me say this before. We are right back to the midway point of the parallel channel. We're still sitting above Glenn's 0.618 fib level there at 98.75. That should definitely be a support for it. We also, with this current pre-market move, gave up the 20-day, which is one that we have been talking about on a lot of these stocks and indices that we really wanted to kind of get above and stay above in order to potentially change trend. Well, NVIDIA here giving that up in the morning. With the market selling off, NVIDIA responding in kind, down 4% here. You got anything on NVIDIA chart, direction or otherwise?
Let me look at the chart, but I was kind of thinking that we're getting this whole move in the market because of those GDP and PCE reports. It seems like ever since those came out, the market's really started to take a turn to the downside. And I think that hard for me to say that it's exactly on the thought that we're probably not going to get interest rate cuts on that PCE report for maybe much further out than we were thinking. But I don't want to kind of leap into that quite yet. I would want to wait that out and see what we kind of decision and comments the Fed's going to make next week. But I think that those prints are affecting the entire market in a way that maybe they have them thinking that rate cuts are further out. So that's what I would be thinking right now. But I don't want to put my stamp on that statement yet.
Seaport Global here initiates coverage on NVIDIA with a sell rating and announces a price target here of 100. Jay Rice mentioning that one here. So that also weighing on NVIDIA here.
That's not great.
Okay. We'll see if this holds above 100, if we've got some more downside here in some of these names. Okay, so that is Agri, V, NVIDIA. We already took a look at Microsoft, kind of previewed those earnings. Did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you're a Microsoft holder. We got those earnings here tonight.
Looking forward to seeing what they say. I still like Microsoft for the long term.
Yep. You've been very, very clear about that being long term. Does kind of look like maybe we're trying to turn stuff around here. See?
Well, we'll see if we end up getting that. Our discussion yesterday is a lot of us are still thinking that the bottom may or may not be in. I'm still on the side that I need more confirmation if we are going to be, if we do have a bottom. I'm not quite there yet. Keep an eye on JFBR. I think that might be percolating. So I still feel like once we get confirmation that the bottom's in, then I'll have probably changed my tune. But for now, I'm just going to be like, well, there might be some more downside to come. So let's wait and see.
Sure. All right.
Under Senior TV, I like Honeywell. I own it. I owned it for a while.
Okay, pretty good. Anne-Marie, Starbucks put butterfly was spot on. Who's shocked that Anne-Marie has given us spot on butterflies? Literally comes back And then the first day back just hands out bangers like it ain't no thing. Anne-Marie, just really, really awesome stuff. Really, really awesome stuff.
Getting
okay.
Getting a mention from sorry, I just from STFU, ULY. So it's like July without the J.
Okay.
This is moving on. Looks like I don't see what news it's moving on, unless it was the first quarter earnings result that was yesterday.
That was last night. So
yeah. So I don't know what's causing this, unless it's actually that.
Well, they also talked about participating in this conference. Urgently will host no, that's the conference call. No. Investor conferences. That's what I'm looking at here.
May 21st.
Here we go. First one. Yep. May 21st and May 22nd. So the Sidoti Micro Cap Virtual Investor Conference and the Jefferies Automotive Aftermarket Private and Public Conference. These two, they're going to present there, it looks like.
Low float as well, 1.1 million. So going to be able to push this around. Looks like there's been some insider selling as well. And
you've got some catalysts here. Right. So you might learn something out of these conferences on these days. March 21 and 20. Excuse March. Come on, Ryan. May 21 and 22. That's going to be a Wednesday, Thursday in May. Third full week in May.
Looks like they also had a non-compliance notice from NASDAQ. So there's something else to keep an eye on. And what is this offering of securities here? There's a Form S3. So they may be raising capital. So several things to be careful with this one. Just be careful. There's a lot of things that could move this thing around. Lots of bearish things too, like the insider selling.
Sticking with the charts that y'all folks wanted to take a look at next, here is going to be Hood. So the big thing here for Hood now, Hood is down 4.72%. Looks like that is coming on the GDP print that we got. The good news here on Hood, though, is we are actually setting up for a inverse head and shoulders. We're trading right into it. Below us, we actually, excuse me there. As I was saying earlier, I'm frustrated with pollen season and it's playing havoc with my allergies. The $44 level here on Hood, that's going to be your 50-day moving average. We definitely want that to hold. I've drawn the inverse head and shoulders here. We'll see if we end up getting a rocket out of this. The spot to look for on the upside, really just $50. I think if we can get above $50, especially on some pretty good volume, this thing might have a potential move to 60 and maybe even new all-time highs on Hood, but we'll see. What do you think?
I think in addition to that 50-day SMA, I really would like to see $45, that handle, hold up as well. I do like your inverse head and shoulders. It looks like that could be a possibility. It may also be some kind of cup that we're forming here. Do like that we're above the 50-day SMA. We do have to hold above that because I think that took a lot of bearishness out of the stock because the price was trying to get back above that frequently, over the past couple months now, since the beginning of March. So constantly getting rejected at the 50 and now finally back over it. We need to hold above that to continue to the upside. But I also like 45 as a support level as well.
Okay. Real good stuff there. Wisdom says, Ryan, cannabis helps allergies, but it also has a negative impact on trading performance and my job performance, which right now has a little bit higher priority. So I think we'll skip the morning cannabis, Wisdom, but you do you. You do you. Okay. Hood, the other one, Diamond Hotline. By the way, I don't think I said good morning to Diamond Hotline earlier. He wanted to take a look at LFMD. LFMD here. What is going on with this? This actually popped right to a resistance area. Did this on what? Yesterday?
This is a mover from yesterday.
This is the mover from yesterday. So it looks like we've got a continuation here on an R vol. But the big, what do you think about this spot? This looks like a resistance spot here.
Let me take a look here.
Right on the daily here at 860.
Yeah, that's a frequent one.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to 2024. Looks like it actually goes back to 2023.
Still get interaction with it.
Oh my
Going back
gosh,
into
this goes back to
2021.
2020. Yeah, never mind. 2020. This
Yeah,
is very,
fun one.
very clearly a former resistance area that we are trying to get over again.
Looks like it may be like 850 in particular. I see that we're at like 862 and it does kind of line up. And when I look at 850, that looks even better. I think I'd place my my level there at 850. We're beneath that right now. Let me look at a smaller time frame to see what that ends up giving us. Okay, hold on here. 1 second. Horizontal line, 850. All right. So now that we can see that on our 5-minute chart, and we also have a bit of a double top here, which is extra concerning. Seems like we have not 850 to 870 might be the range where you're going to have that resistance in this stock. So going to see a good amount of volume to push through all that. So far from even from the after hours yesterday and the regular session this morning, not able to really hold above 850 for longer than I'd say an hour. It loses it every time. So what you're not going to want to see is a loss of 8, because I think that might be your indication that this is done and probably headed back down. Probably back down to $7.
Okay.
That's about what I've got for that.
Diamond Hotline sure looks like 850. Going to be one of those important spots here today on LFMD. And then, as we already mentioned here, remember, this should be a relative volume mover off of yesterday's action. LFMD. We'll see. That might appear here on the scanner depending on how it trades here today.
Oh, yeah.
Next stock we wanted to take a look at here was UNH. This was another one here from the group. We've talked a lot about UNH recently. Sure looks like we're kind of waiting out this trend line, right? We're waiting for a bottom to confirm here. So just going to kind of go back to the Mark Petrino talk that we've had recently. When you're looking at some of these trades here, you have trade setups and you have trade triggers. This one sure looks like we're kind of waiting on a potential bounce here for UNH. We're using this trend line 13. I'm pretty sure that you told me to put this trend line on here.
I said put this trend line on here. I didn't think that we were quite done bottoming. We were making lower lows as this stock price was trying to find a bottom. I said until we stop doing that, I think we're still headed lower. Here we are, lower lows again. I think that trend line is 400. I got to say 400 seems like the level to me. We'll see if we end up getting that a print of that and maybe even a bounce today.
Yep. And Jay's already hitting it, cutting in front here. Humana might actually help this here today. UNH up. Ooh, we got to reset that chart. UNH up 0.2% here today. But remember, Humana reported earnings here this morning. Humana's up 6.22% on the back of those results. And actually, this looks like this is trying to trade higher. Conference call is currently ongoing. Let me just give you a real quick read there on that Humana report. EPS of 11.56 beats by $1.51 and revenue of 32.12 billion misses by 100 million. So you had a mixed report there, but you had a guide here between 1625, or excuse me, a guide of 1625 versus the 1635 estimate. That was also a little bit weak. Humana here trading higher. What do you make of that, Jay? A mixed report. Humana with a guide under estimates, but trading up by 6%.
Look at the draw a line with the price that it currently is at right now, 275.50, and then look at the daily.
Okay, let's go get this horizontal line. You said 275.50, no?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make it exact because my CDO is going to F with me today. Let's go 275.50 and then look at the daily. Bam.
Yeah, I'll zoom in on that area of consolidation that we've been in since last year. Yeah. So we traded right up to about the middle of this. And it's interesting because when you examine closely these this particular level, you can see that these candles are really kind of running up to that area and then turning around or coming down to it and bouncing off it. This is a pretty strong support and resistance area. So depending on how we open here today, I think we might see this turn around at this level. But if it happens to break through, then I think we would want to lean on the 200-day SMA.
Yeah.
That's it's quite a ways away from here. About $18, I think. But it's not out of the realm of possibility of getting back up there today and seeing rejection. So we'll see if that's what we end up getting. But I think at 275.50, that's a very important spot to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so you can see here the 200-day moving average. We have really struggled to get above that here. Jay with some more really good insight here. Humana, UNH, MRK, Pfizer, some of these names are considered defensive names and actually do better when the market sells off. So maybe this pullback here in the pre-market would be beneficial for these stocks. Okay, we got through the list. We got through everything that folks wanted to ask about.
15 seconds.
Chump here is asking, how about Humana? I hear they lost their star rating. This will mean lower MA enrollment since they will not be able to enroll all year long. Sounds like I don't know much about that, Chump.
And we are open. MACD on JFBR, not looking great. It looks like it's starting to curl over, so be extra careful with JFBR. IVF, that is not doing a whole lot at the moment.
It's still holding between. I got two of these levels that I'm looking at here. What is this? 210 and 240, right? Those levels in there. Which one's it going to break out of?
FRGT. This is the one that's buying the Bitcoin. Or I'm sorry, the Trump coin. This one, no volume really out of the gate here yet. Agri, AGRI, that had a pop over its 65 EMA. Doing nothing now. IVF now getting some life, trying to come up to that 240. That's one of the levels we were looking at.
Yep.
And if it can get above that, we'll be looking towards the 285. There's a little bit of consolidation just beneath that 285 level it might run into. That's going to be at about 275. So between 275 and 285 might see the real resistance area. Now it's starting to get some rejection here from VWAP.
I'm going to actually throw this one in my other chart here just to keep an eye on it until I find a better one. Real quick here, Chump saying regarding this Humana question, I'm in the business. Well, what do you think? What do you think about Humana given what we know there? And what and that star rating? What does your gut tell you? IVF here coming up to the VWAP there. Here's the 240. I got VWAP at 254 in both my broker and in trading view here. We're going to want to watch that level for certain. That's also one of the levels where this thing turned around earlier this morning. That 254 level going to be important.
Yes, we just got a print up to 238. That's just shy of that 240 that we were looking at there. So still in this consolidation that we fell into ever since 6 a.m. this morning. Just kind of bouncing between here and the 265. I'm sorry, the 200 EMA and the 65 EMA. Just kind of bouncing around between. And a little bit above these two. We just had a quick print above 240 and it came right back in. Looks like at 246.
I switched away from it. Sorry. Okay. Nadeem was asking about ABAT here. This actually had a pretty decent move yesterday. This looks like kind of a relative volume play today, although on the backside of that move, down 8.5%. Yeah, we didn't have any new news on this, did we, Nadeem? No, all of this was from yesterday on that $900 million financing news that we got.
Yeah, this has a trend line that it needs to break. You could draw it from 184, the high in the pre-market, draw it through the highs that we have here this morning, including the opening print. That's the trend line that needs to get over. Oh. It's still moving away from it to the south. Yeah, so I would watch for the first thing that needs to happen now, since we're beneath it, is to recapture the 200 EMA, and then we can look towards that view. I'm sorry, that trend line getting broken. Jeff Brands. This one is still kind of sideways. It did have a little shakeout there a moment ago, but still trying to get above 180. Hopefully it doesn't do a 180 on anybody and create a bag holder out of them.
Well, so we've got this range here right at the top, right? We kind of got that box formation here, 165 to what, 185 on the upside. We'll see which way it breaks out of that. Looks like it might break out of the bottom of that. And IFV going to that VWAP where it looks like it tried to, didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it's it seems kind of a little like it doesn't have enough of strength right now. It's got some volume, but it doesn't seem like it's enough quite yet. And we're trying to get out of this consolidation that we were in all morning, only to run up into more consolidation in the 275 to 285 area. So there's going to have to be some big whale to come in here to help push this thing up because it's constantly getting rejected at that 240 area.
Okay. Real quick here. Love this. Chump, I really appreciate this. So regarding the Humana stuff that we were talking about earlier, not good. If you have a high star rating, you can enroll Medicare Advantage members all year long as CMS wants people to enroll at a higher performing plan. But now that Humana is not considered high performing, this reduces their ability to enroll. He goes on to say here, Medicare Advantage brokers will look for other plans to enroll. So Chump, just kind of carrying this forward here, do we expect more knock-on effects for Humana down the line? Maybe this pop is something that we should sell into, or is there any other mile marker, if you will, that we should be on the lookout for this? That's actually really good insight.
FRGT popped and ran to VWAP and then came right back in. Good luck.
Yeah, I like that. Trump coin, by the way, sitting here, if it's tied to it at all. Trump coin sitting here still down 7% at 1248. Actually, excuse me, it's down 8%. 8%.
STSS. This one is looking too bad. Volume needs to be better, but MACD is starting to curl. Maybe this gets going here in a little bit. Looking like 650 might be the next area it runs to if it can hold up here. Otherwise, 65 EMA is going to have to be support. All right, so FRGT doesn't look like it looks like it's actually going to try and take out VWAP here.
Here, let me put FRGT. Sorry about that. Let me put that on screen here. Good call on that, by the way.
IVF is also going to broke over 240. That's starting to move here on its way up to the 275 area we were talking about.
Sorry.
No worries. The hot to a coin.
One of my buddies at the golf course this weekend said he accepts Haktua coin if we wanted to have him get drinks and us pay him back. I think he was joking.
Agri, I see that it's moving up, but the volume is just so low. I don't know that I'd even trust it. All right, so there's FRGT getting rejected by VWAP again. Still has some volume, so I don't know if it's finished. IVF, that ran up to 277, right between the area we were talking about, of the 275 and 285.
Hey, it broke above the VWAP there. So far, it's holding it.
And it came right back down to test 240. Got to hold that, or else probably going back to where we opened at.
TSLZ, this is going to be one of your inverse. This is the T-Rex inverse here for Tesla. That's moving up. That means Tesla's pounding the lows right now. Tesla down 6.5% here today. Here is Tesla hunting for some new lows.
Jeff Brands, that's falling now. So this is why we wanted to wait and see what it was going to do. This is not doing what we were hoping for. So looks like there might be some support at 140. Beneath that, you're going to have this consolidation and the 65 EMA. That's going to be just above 120. There's that in Jeff Brands. Looks like STSS is trying to get going here. And FRGT still bouncing between, what is this? About 112 to the VWAP.
The VWAP obviously becoming a really important point here for FRGT. We'll see if we can break above that. Trump coin now down over 8%. I'm rather amused by this entire thing, so I'm not sure if this is actually affecting one or the other, but I'll keep reporting it.
Yes, I show. Yeah, Jeffy Brand. Not the great. Here we go with STSS. This is so far looking like one of the better ones this morning, especially with that MACD now crossing. High this morning was 787.
STSS, huh?
Yep. So far, that is looking like one of the better ones.
Still needs to get above VWAP. IVF already above VWAP. We'll see if that can continue to move higher here. Jay, you were mentioning that had a huge earnings beat earlier. Did that come in a little bit? Yeah, it sure did. And this is on the GLP-1 angle, right?
SQQQ is ripping now. New highs, 33.19.
So is XPSS, by the way. And one of the things that we had talked about yesterday was that if you're going to play this here, Ed, I know that you were in some of those 8 calls with me. One of the things, if this goes against you, one of the things that you might consider doing is instead of adding to the same strike that you're in, instead add one that's a little bit lower. If you were playing the 7 calls on SPXS yesterday, or even the 650s, you were doing real well here today. Those 8 still may be a little far unless we really crater here today.
Megatron, welcome welcome to tuning in with us. Here we are seeing the market pull because of economic reports that came out. GDP and PCE really against expectations. I think this is reigniting inflation fears.
So here you go, Megatron. First of all, if you're a Calvin Johnson fan, I'm already a fan of yours. Megatron is awesome. But also here, just to kind of assign some numbers to that, the GDP print that 13 was just talking about here, Q1 minus 0.3 versus a positive 0.2 estimate versus the prior read of 2.4. That's going to be your big GDP number here that really kind of sank things.
Yeah, and then PCE was like 1.1% above the expectation, which was pretty massive change. So that I think that's a reigniting inflation fears. Looks like Jeff Brand's trying to find some support down at 140. That's about what we were looking at.
Yeah, that RGLS. I got to remember to not click on that one. With that being the buyout, there's no trade on that.
IVF still trying to push up.
This one looks good.
Yeah, it's still trying to go. It's holding above my view up right now, but it's still having a hard time getting into that area between 275 and 285 where there's that consolidation. But more volume will take it up into that area. Freight technologies, that's still kind of bouncing between the 9 EMA and VWAP. ABAT. Let's see if it's going to find a bottom or not yet. That continued to sink. LFMD, that also found some support around the 200 EMA. Let's see if that turns around and recaptures VWAP. And that's about all that looks good right now. Freight Technologies trying to push through VWAP here on this attempt right now.
IVF, got to think that spot there is going to be 278-ish on IVF. Kind of backed off that spot a little bit now. But I would still watch that one. Looks like on TV here, I can't hear what's going on, but it looks like Peter Navarro is on TV here with CNBC. That can't be good. It seems like every time he gets on TV, things get worse from where they're at.
SQQQ continues to rip 33.46, now the high.
Also here real quick, Keeping Up said I put in a 7 call last week. So that's one of the ways to actually play some of these levered ones. Sometimes instead of adding to the position that you have, actually going a strike lower, you should be doing pretty well this morning with that trade. Because that's going to be in the money here in 4 cents.
I wonder if now that FRGT is buying Trump coin, if every time that Trump comes on or makes a tweet or some kind of thing, some kind of headline that, with him saying something, that FRGT runs on it. We've seen stranger things happen.
I also don't monitor the Trump coin. So
right.
I'm not sure what to make of it here.
That's not the point. I'm just talking about whenever he says anything, kind of like how Kodak would move whenever he says something. Could be similar to this, and to that matter, DJT as well. But right now, FRGT is putting in a series of overshadows against this VWAP that aren't looking too particularly appetizing. But if it can break over 125, it might be a run here that it goes. Here we go. Just broke that 125. Now up to 130. I really didn't just say this before it happened, did I?
Sorry, I was looking at something else. Which ticker are you looking at, 13?
FRGT. Looks like there's a wall at 130. It's tapping it right now. That was funny. Needs more volume to get through 130 though. If it starts to come in here right at 130, the volume, the breakout might take it up to into the 140, maybe 145 area.
Urgently here, that company that is announced its earnings date and presenting an upcoming investor conferences. This thing's up 53% here today, up 6 entire points, new highs now after it pops above the pre-market high.
They took that seller out in FRGT. This is still pushing up slightly higher, but I got to say that the volume could be better. Remember, this does have this is the one that has 2.26 million shares in the float. Still pushing up. It's good stuff out here, FRGT.
IVF losing its VWAP. Well, actually kind of flirting with its VWAP at the moment.
Yeah, it's trying to hold it, yeah.
Yeah, this actually might tell us what the next direction is there.
279 was the high print out of this price action. Really nice to see that get within that range we were talking about. Waiting to see if Jeff Brands tries to turn around. FRGT looking at 135. I think it just went a little bit higher. Yep, 135 is where it's at. STSS lost VWAP. And then Agroforce just low volume moves on that one. Looks like SQQQ isn't quite finished yet, but it's starting to slow down a bit. Well, hopefully we get a good setup here for the TQQQ with how much selling is happening. But so far, we're not that extended away from VWAP in that ETF.
That's a really good reminder. That is a really good reminder because we actually might see some of that kind of turn around here. Let me actually get that up here and see if I can kind of forecast a spot for TQQQ.
Well, at this stage, we're still quite a ways away. We're like what, only 50 cents away from VWAP. So
no, on TQQQ we are over $1. We are $1.10 away. We are 40 cents away from a buy trigger here. TQQQ.
Okay, and my VWAP's a lower value. So,
and actually, I don't want to be too early to this trade because this trade is actually not very profitable if you are indeed early. But it does look like some of these wicks here forming to the downside. Maybe this reverses here a little bit. I'm going to watch the indices though instead of the levered ETF.
FRGT, that's still trying to get going up here. IVF trying to recover as well. That is trading now back above my VWAP, but just mind the long upper shadows here. That could foretell a rug pull coming. We need to take those out. We need to actually get into that 285 and a higher area to invalidate those upper shadows. Otherwise, I think it's trying to tell us that the sellers are too strong at the moment.
That's IVF?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. This looks to me like it's going to trade. I see what you mean, though. This to my eye, it looks like we are going to re-challenge those highs, those intraday highs.
Good.
And 285 would validate that. You're right. Yeah, Austin is asking. We have another economic print at 10 a.m. Right? Yeah, we have the personal spending and core PCE data. Did we get core PCE already? Did that one come out already?
That should have been out already.
Yeah, that one was out already. So that should have been with the GDP earlier this morning. Indeed, core PCE prices 3.5% versus a 2.6% prior read. So yeah, we do. Sorry, the personal spending. We didn't get personal spending, right? No, that comes at 10.
Yeah. All right. Seeing all these names we were just talking about, they're showing a little bit of weakness here.
We also get this. Let me update this and make sure this is from today, and I'm not reading something that's new.
Spotify is rallying.
We get crude at 10:30 today. Looks like. I don't think that's what he was referring to. Let me go back here to the main workspace.
I'm looking at Spotify's chart. I really would like to see this get back up to 6. Now, if it can get back and close over 6, I think that this may go on to make new all-time highs in a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Netflix, right? Like it pulled and then went to some new highs there.
A little bit. Yeah, it looks like FRGT. It might go here. There it is. New highs.
Let's all listen to Anne Marie. What's Anne Marie saying? Anne Marie saying, "Let's hit the like for Ryan." Ryan at 13. Again, just as a reminder, folks, please definitely do this for us. It really helps what 13 and I are doing here. It's free and it takes less than 2 seconds for you to do.
Yeah, STFU. Yep, FRGT is launching. It is. Looks like.
Well, here let's see what Trump coin is doing, if anything. Trump coin is continuing to sink, now down 9.7%.
Well, maybe that's just going to make it a more attractive buy for FRGT. Because I don't know if they've actually picked it up yet. They just got their financing.
I'm not sure anything is really related to the price of that coin. This does look like expanding volume here, so I would watch that on FRGT. And it also is worth noting that your pre-market high is up there at 167. That's our range that we could definitely close down here today.
Look at IVF.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Brett, for being an early liker. Y'all should be like Brett.
Yeah, Ryan, get ONDS up, and you'll get a like.
Okay, let me get on that here. One sec.
Oh gosh, what are you going to do?
I wish I could make stocks do what I want, folks. I really do. I really wish I could make that.
Yeah. Apparently, I think it's what SV Trader that thinks that I have some kind of hold over the SPY.
Yes. Yes. I think you know what though. All jokes, I think he's got hold over Netflix. I think Netflix
he's very good.
That's, yeah,
very good with that one. Yep. Richard, if you're taking off, have a good one.
Take care of yourself, Judge. It's great to see you.
I don't think it's the same Richard.
Oh,
different Richard.
My bad. Richard, take care of yourself. Thank you again.
Hey, glad you liked it. Okay, so IVF, there we go. Upper shadows, I think maybe it may have confirmed. We're losing VWAP now, and we're sinking lower.
So here's a pretty good question. Nadeem saying, do we only... My producer threw a thing there that changed it for me. Nadeem saying, do we only play news if it's on the same day? Wow. Yesterday's news are not valid today. What's up?
This. Look at the shakeout, and then it popped back up over VWAP and went on a little bit of... Be careful with IVF. This thing is all over the place right now.
Got it on screen here.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Nadeem, so with these smaller, let's call them kind of junkier companies here, I really think that the only thing that you should do is play news on the given day. Now, if we had, a piece of news on one of these bigger stocks, like for example, if we had, Apple, and I'm completely making something up for the sake of the example here, so please don't misconstrue this. If we had an announcement that Apple's not going to pay tariffs on any of its products, or tariffs won't apply to Apple products, that is a news article that you can trade multiple days. Okay, so it really kind of depends on some of these crappier companies where we're looking at some of these, news catalysts. I would really just kind of stick to that for the same day, reassess the next day. If it's something that's a little bit bigger, maybe you get a multi-day carry through on that.
STFU is telling you to go to the local farmer's market and get honey. I recommend that too.
Ryan, you can't do that animation where the screen gets filled with thumbs up.
Oh, like a graphic overlay. That just has
you know what? We didn't we have something like that? Maybe we lost that when we moved over to Restream. We had some assets that did that.
STSS.
That sounds like something for my producer. Producer, look into that, would you?
STSS, FRGT, and IVF all look like they are trying to get ready to go here. IVF, man, that looked like it was going to sink, but buyer stepped in at 245. STSS trading back above my VWAP now for the time being. FRGT holding above VWAP. It look like these, at least one of these might have some more movement in it. Take on BMY, asks Bilger. Let's see here, BMY. What is this? Bristol Myers.
Oh.
What?
I don't know. So y'all folks talking about the like stuff. Let me just put, I don't know how much I can and can't say. We have some surprises coming. It appears that the producer is already on that.
Excellent.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
Bristol Myers Squibb. So
Bristol Myers. All right. Sorry.
No worries. What's interesting about this one? I have some levels here on this one. It looks like $56. I had a support turn resistance level, and then I also had an area down at 48, which is where we just recently came off of. That was going to be another support area that I had, and that kind of goes back quite a ways. Matter of fact, it goes all the way back to like 2013. having price interaction with that. So I think for me, getting back above 148, I'm sorry, 48 and holding, that's a good sign of upside. But I think the real test might be coming later on around 52, maybe 50, somewhere between 51 and 52. That's also where the 20-day SMA is going to need to recapture that if we're going to continue to see any more upside. But also don't be surprised if we do end up seeing some lower prints on a 20-day SMA rejection. I think for me, I'd be interested in this after we start trading above the 20-day SMA.
Okay. Really good stuff there. That 20-day SMA coming into play again. We've talked a lot about wanting to kind of turn around negative trends, and that SMA seems to keep flashing its head. Real quick here, STFU, Ryan, go to a local farmer's market and buy honey and eat the whole jar. It's no joke. It's the best cure for allergies. So this is 100% correct. In fact, everyone in here.
Sorry, IVF just blasted off to 307. Sorry to interrupt you.
Jeez. Okay. Anyway, y'all should, everyone here should be eating honey from your local area. The bees obviously get all that stuff from the flowers around you, and it is tailored to your allergies. I don't know if I'm going to eat the whole thing. I do have honey from the Great Lakes area. Maybe I'll start adding that here. So that 305 level that you had identified from, what was it, NAVA, looks like that came into play here.
Yeah. So that we got that, but man, that was such a real. You had to have already had your limit order out to sell if you were going to get out of there on that move. So because you're not going to be able. It happened so fast that if you had hit like a market order, you probably would have ended up selling under like around 280. But this is not done. It's still got some volume. It's still pushing up. Maybe it goes higher here. There's a new high.
Here it is, 310.
All right, so now next is going to be the pre-market high of 331. After that, 365. Yeah, I love this stuff. So when it blasts off like a rocket, it's like I'm watching SpaceX.
Crocodile dumb me trying to pour some salt all over my back here. Ryan saying Bristol Myers like his pal Kramer, spelled with a K. So my cat, one of my former cats, was named Kramer with a K. That came from Seinfeld. Not the Kramer that you're talking about. He has no idea who I am. I'd have a tough time considering him my pal. But I did say Bristol Myers just like that.
Jeff Brand's new lows on its way down to the 65 EMA. IVF still trying to close. Put a closing candle above, or a 5-minute candle that closes above 305. Still have yet to see that. FRGT, that's now starting to sink, losing its VWAP, and STSS. That popped up to a new session high, and now it's coming back down to VWAP for support.
IVF, the trade of the day here so far on these small ones here. Jaboni saying, does producer have a name? We have multiple producers, both him and hers. So I just refer to the producers as producer. We have multiple. Yes, and they all have names, and they're good names too.
Lion, I didn't mean to scare you, but in the land of Oz, they have lions like that are perfectly fine. So cowardly lions, go to land of Oz.
Whoa. And I think the World War III, you might need to take a deep breath there. World War III, that's a little hypey, as they say. This producer, whichever one's working the ones and twos right now, you can call him the king. Crown their ass, Denny Green style. Okay, got enough fun here.
315 now, the high print for IVF. I don't know that I'd be chasing this one.
I think the trade here is probably done in IVF, right? You should only have trailers on at this point.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea if you're uncertain that you're going to get your limit order to fill at whatever price you have above here. Put on a trailing stop. So it couldn't hurt. Especially if your trailing stop is going to equal less than the value of what your entry is. So if let's say that you're already up 10 cents and you have a trailing stop that takes it down to 5 cents above your cost, you're out with a profit, and you don't have to worry about if you don't hit your limit order or not. It's even better to have bracket orders in case you do, or order cancels order in some
OCO orders, as they call them.
Yep. OCOs, OSOs, they have all different kinds of names for those. I didn't even mean to rhyme, and I did. Hey, smoked tuna, you nailed that one. SQQQ new high. Oh man, it sure is. 33.63.
How are we at with the TQQQ there?
Let's take a look here. For me, we're still less than $1 away from VWAP, but approaching a dollar figure pretty quickly here.
Yeah, we are $1.40 away for me.
Okay, well
We are
that's
$1. Man, I'll tell you what, this 1025 might be an ad there. TQQQ might try a little.
Let me see what the QQQ is looking like here on a 5-minute chart. There may be some indication of where there's a good spot to add or buy. I mean, 460 doesn't look too bad, actually. Actually, I like 460 a lot.
Humana gave up its entire earnings pop. Now, it might be curling here. It's still green, but boy, oh boy, gave up that entire earnings pop there. How did UNH do with that? Lower.
STFU saying IVF pre-market high of 331. If it makes it above that, 410 looks like the level. I'm not opposed. Let me take a look here. I think you're probably right about that. All right, well, here we go. We just popped over. Oh gosh, that was some.
Yeah, this going higher here.
Just hit 318. Next candle started. Tried to fall under 3, didn't do it. Got some support. I still like, yeah. So that 410. I have 415. So I'm not. I think that's pretty right on. Somewhere between 465 and 470 is what I have next after that. And then there's a large gap between there and the next levels that I have, because we're talking all the way up to 665 and then 725 after that. So I guess we could start calling those some dumb levels.
Izzy, what's going on with Snap? They reported earnings yesterday, and it's terrible.
Yeah, they didn't. They pulled their guidance. Well, they pulled their guidance, and that was the big thing for them. They didn't provide it. So any company that's likely going to do that is going to have days like this, in my opinion. I guess if the question is, well, do you do 2 different kinds of guidance like United did, or do you just pull your guidance completely like Snap did? Which one fell further?
So, you know what's funny about that, 13? They had Kate Moore on CNBC early this morning, and she said just flat out, she said she actually really liked the way United handled that. Gave him guidance for 2 different. So to answer your question right off the surface, I mean, I agree with Kate. I would rather companies give you 2. I don't know if we can expect that, but I would rather see that.
Looks like there was a point just recently where we should have been starting to get TQQQ, because there's a pretty good bounce all the way up to.
Guess what? Michael did. So I was waiting for 50.25. Never got it here. Michael took it at 50.45. Michael's up 45 cents on that.
When you started saying it was close to your 150 area, I took a little bit, but not nowhere near enough that I wanted. Buy-in was at 50.40. I still want to add more, but I hope this isn't the reversal.
This is first of all, Michael here has got 60 cents on his trade. Michael, you manage that trade any way that you see fit. Really good buy on your part right there. Just make sure that doesn't go red on you in whatever way that you can. That's all I would say. Ooh, now we're starting to get some option flow.
Speaking of going red, IVF kind of took out that big impulse move that took it over 3. Still hanging out above VWAP though, so it might not be done, but that was not a great move. FRGT still trying to make new highs. It bounced off its VWAP, trying to push up to 145. STSS still above its VWAP, but kind of going sideways at the moment.
Netflix a little bit lower. eBay a little bit lower. How's Etsy doing? They reported earnings here this morning. Etsy taking another leg lower there. A couple of things here. Active buyers. I actually went through the Etsy report because I was just curious to see what they would say about the consumer there. And Rick Santelli looks like he might have just narrowly avoided a heart attack. He got really animated right there. Etsy here. Active buyers decreased 3.4% year over year to 88.5 million. The number of habitual buyers was 6.2 million. That's down 11% year over year. That's Etsy, ticker ETSY.
Zach Van Dusen is asking about the India versus Pakistan conflict. saying they're going to attack us. Well, they're saying that attack is going to happen within the next 24 to 36 hours. What's the play? Maybe the play would be you could try shorting some of the India ETFs. That'd be my first thought, because it's kind of hard to, how do we play that? I don't know what U.S. companies we could look at that be directly affected by the India-Pakistan conflict.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to India itself, we could be looking at some of those India ETFs as a potential short if that conflict picks up. That would be my first guess. I really don't know without doing some more digging or reading into some more information, but I think that might be the way to go. So use that as a starting point, I would say. Looks like TQQQ is still trying to take out VWAP. Really nice 60-cent move up here.
All right, so market responding to some new data. It looks like core PCE price index month over month for March flat versus the 10th estimate. Prior read was 0.5. Core PCE price index year over year for March 2.6 versus the 2.6 estimate. Prior read was 3. Market is trying to bounce on that here.
Apple is, I don't know about all production, but they are trying to significantly reduce their reliance on China, and a lot of that production is going over to India. So yes, they are moving it over there, but how much of it, I don't know the percentage, but it's not all, at least not yet. Defense stocks, yes. I think those are, because we're in a time right now where, if there's a recession that's going to happen, you're going to want to be in those defensive names like consumer staples, industrials, defense stocks like Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, RTX, Boeing might even be a good one too, even with the news headlines that it's been getting.
So actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. First of all, Boeing here sold off and is actually curling here. Navarro was talking about Boeing, reiterating that other countries are going to buy the jets that China opts not to.
Yep, that they are. And I heard that maybe it's Saudi Arabia might be interested. Vietnam and Malaysia in particular, Malaysian Airlines has been exploring the possibility of taking some of those aircraft canceled by China. So, when it comes to those orders getting canceled, I don't think that's necessarily a big deal, because Boeing's backlog goes on for years, and all it means if one country cancels an order is that, well, the next country in line is just going to get those planes, and the backlog moves up. So I don't really think that China canceling their aircraft is really that big of a deal.
Nope. Me either. WW, this looks like a penny stock flirting with dollar territory. See if that can go higher here. Spotify, by the way, continuing its march back here. This actually was red-green already today, plus 2% now.
Freight technology is knifing hard, says STFU. It's knifing through VWAP. Haven't gone all the way through the opening print, but that's up. That's down where the 65 EMA is. So we get down there. I think that this is just all the way back to start. And the MACD isn't looking too great. It looks like it could roll over here. Be careful with FRGT. This one might be finished for now. IVF that went up to 320 and then came back all the way down to VWAP down at 271.
Almost made that double top up there at 330. James saying Boeing's backlog goes out a decade. So you're saying baby got backlog, huh? Got it. Gary saying WW going for one. Sure appears to be that way. I wouldn't be shocked if that attacked that one level.
Weight Watchers, what was the news today? I know that they had news yesterday, and it was on the partnership, right?
Yeah, there were a couple of stocks that were kind of involved with GLP that reported here today. Let me see if there was anything. I don't see anything specific to Weight Watchers. That might just be in sympathy and maybe a continued move from yesterday.
Yeah, some Momo, and the float still has an 18% short interest, so maybe some squeezing in there as well.
You didn't like that, huh, Mike? You didn't like that the baby got backlog joke? I'll try and make them funnier for you. Tough crowd today, for sure. Tough crowd today.
Is it because the market's down? Is it because the market's down, guys? Is that why we're being so So tough on Ryan today.
Oh, they're not being whoa. No one's being tough on me. They're just a naturally tough crowd. I'm good.
Okay. I'm just kind of throwing myself into there.
No, I know. How's that
right.
TQQQ trade going, by the way?
Oh, I don't have anything right now because I only wanted to get back up to VWAP. It did. I wanted to pick up more so I could scale out of it, but
Michael, plus 70 cents on your entry. Michael, pretty good entry so far. I've got VWAP here 38 cents away. So, Michael, I was kind of asking generally, but Michael, that was some sick entry. Did a better job than I did.
Yeah, it's kind of in a bit of a downtrend right now, and it looks like it could break it here. So if it does, I want to see some prints above 5160. Lion, they need to go back to the old days prior to the McDonnell Douglas merger when they actually prioritized quality over profits.
I'm going to leave this up here because I think this is going to get back to VWAP. I need to step away for 1 sec, though. BRB.
Okay. But yeah, they need to go back to that culture of sound engineering over their shareholder masters. Okay, so oh yeah, there you go. IVF now finally losing VWAP, coming down. Nice little trade there out of this one. And we've seen a lot of these names come back later in the afternoon. So for now, let's just let some of these names just get shaken out. This probably goes down to 240, maybe even lower. 65 EMA is down at 232. IVF might be at the loading time. Maybe Jeff Brand starts to finally come back up here. Now this thing went down out of the open. Curling back up, making its way to VWAP. Let's see what the MACD does. Maybe this one ends up being better for us. Looks like I would say 160. 160 is about the level we need to start recapturing if this is going to have any chance of going higher. And then you have that consolidation from the pre-market, which is at about that 165 to 185 area. IVF trying to get some support down at 250. STSS is now putting in some new session highs. This one may get going here some more. Slow mover, but still trading up. Oh, and now we're getting a little bit of a pull.
Which one?
Oh, I was just looking at STSS.
STSS.
Mm-hmm. ABAT up to its trend line that we drew. Good amount of volume will take it through the trend line and maybe even the 65 VMA. But until that happens, this is where we're at.
IVF pulling all the way back from that impulse move there.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, Izzy, I know you were talking about Snap. This is still hunting for a bottom and getting pounded here. Also seeing more Snap puts roll across the tape here.
You say it's snapping support?
I would say that. It's not bad. Bristol Myers seeing some calls getting bought into this potential curl spot.
So the SQQQ is now down at its VWAP. The market is kind of coming into a support area, or I'm sorry, not a support area. Hold on a second. I was just kind of flagging that the direction in SQQQ might change here. So give me 1 second.
Also flagging here that the TQQQ entry was almost spot on yet again. It's incredible how often this seems to be happening. And look at this. We are 20 cents away from a VWAP touch there, Michael. God, that is, I'm so happy to see others benefiting from this. My goodness. By the way, just shouting out, channeling Anne Marie right here, advanced decliners line minus 1978. This is actually up off the lows. So this too with the market here looks like it's curling. S&P futures power green candle on the 5 minute here. Excuse me, on the 15 minute, beg your pardon.
All right, so it looks like the TQQQ could continue to go higher. The SQQQ is, I mean, and I'm just looking at the SQQQ to kind of figure out what the TQQ might do. It's losing this support, a trend support, like this uptrend that it's been in. It's losing that trend line right now. If it loses VWAP, then I think this could end up. Let's see here with the TQQ. The TQQQ could end up going up to 52 before it finds more resistance.
TQQQ right there was 8 cents away from its VWAP. 8 cents from the target sell spot. Remember the thesis here on this trade, folks. There it is. We're going to get it. Well, print that 58. It did. It printed. I see prints there. Okay, it backed off that spot real quick, so you might not have gotten filled, but that printed 58. Remember, the thesis here is that this is a bounce back to the VWAP. 13, there we go, 58 again. I can appreciate it if you think that this might have some room to go higher here. That's fine. But remember what we talked about for this trade in terms of thesis. Extension from the VWAP and a move back to the VWAP, and bingo, you got it right here yet again. Michael, you might have bottom ticked this MFer. Good Lord. Michael, you're getting a cash register ring and a 1-up. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
that was awesome.
And the candle might not close near 52, but I still think we're going to see we could see a 52 print before the resistance really starts to kick in. It looks like.
Is there also bad wind in Pennsylvania?
There's also, and you look at well, I guess maybe a daily chart's not great to look at, but when I was looking at a daily chart for the Qs, and we went beneath 465 and then recaptured it, and we're still going higher. I still think we need to keep an eye on 52. That might be the bigger resistance area.
Lion here said he bought puts on Etsy post that report. So you see Etsy selling off some more here. I'll tell you what, even with the market that is clearly bouncing right now, Etsy is not participating in that, Lion. Lion, I've moved on to T at this point now.
Jeff Brands that continues to recover here. It's back up to VWAP. See a large concentration of sellers up at 170. That's about where this consolidation from the pre-market before we opened is at, like the middle of it. So not surprising to see that concentration of sellers there. We'll see if we can even get back above VWAP here in JFBR.
Real quick here, Josh asking, Ryan, what platform are you using? Is that TradingView? I really like the unusual option window in the lower left. I'd like to start using that same platform if you wouldn't mind sharing. I absolutely wouldn't mind. This is one of the reasons why we're here. The platform that I am using is called Benzinga Pro, and I'll actually get you a contact to reach out to directly here who can help you find the cheapest possible price for it. Just to kind of answer a couple of your other questions in that, we do have a TradingView integration. So you're correct. This chart that you're looking at is in fact TradingView, chart by TradingView. So if you know how to use it, you already know how to use the charts in Pro. It's part of the chart tab of details here. And then one more thing, because you mentioned the what's moving here. Actually, let me clean up my workspace a little bit. I was doing a demo for somebody yesterday. Because you were mentioning the unusual options here, and 13, if you need to yell super loud again and scare the shit out of everyone, go ahead and do it. Just make sure there's a stock
on it.
Real quickly here, the unusual option signal actually has two different tools that you get access to. One's going to be the signals tool, which is the real-time raw data feed. What I'm using, what you're seeing in my workspace, is actually the calendar tool. Set to unusual options, and I do this so that I can add filters like only puts or calls, or only big transactions like 1,000 contracts or more. So you have a bunch of different options for that. Let me get you some contact information so you can reach out. You said STSS, right, 13?
Yep, new highs.
Bingo.
High is now 724. Still looking for those highs that we made in the pre-market of 787. Don't know if here we go. Just need to be patient here and let it do its thing, but it looks like it's trying to get up there. Now, I don't know that it'll necessarily hit 787, but it would not be surprising if we did get up to at least 750. We're almost there too. And got Lynn Adams saying wing up 6%. IVF trying to find some support still. Looks like the buying in TQQQ may have slowed.
So the VWAP trade worked perfectly, is what you're saying?
For TQQQ?
Yeah.
Oh, I was already out of that. But
No, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm just trying to reiterate that our call here on TQQQ SQQQ has been phenomenal, and it plays out almost every single day.
I'm still waiting for 52 in TQQQ. I think that's where we're going to start to see more of the sellers stepping in, and we're pushing up there now.
Got it.
Too far away at 52, because if you draw a line at 52 on a TQQQ, you can see how that's kind of I guess we could even call it a neckline if we start to get an inverse head and shoulders here. That might be the neckline at 52.
Wingstop here. This is crazy. So Wingstop, this is a beat on the top and the bottom. I heard you mention this briefly. The stock has been, I haven't been able to catch this one for one of its big moves, but my goodness, this stock has just been an absolute monster. It looks like maybe this is a potential bounce spot here. Those earnings looked all right.
Yep.
That lemon pepper chicken from Wingstop too. Good loud. That is so good.
Buy TD Securities, buy on Wingstop, 265 price target. Stevens and Company thinks that it's worth 385.
So VIX, which was trading up earlier, that's gotten hit here back down to 26.71. VIX still under 30. That's going to be an important level to watch.
AGRI, the slowest moving one that we looked at this morning, still ticking up.
That was a request from the viewers. AGRI. That was Alim, if I'm pronouncing it and remembering it correctly. I'll be impressed if I actually got that right.
Another chat member requested one, ABAT. That actually broke over its trend line, and now it's trading at its 65 EMA. Good stuff there. TQQQ printing 5170. What is it? 75? 5177. So close to 52. So close.
Real quick, let me just take a sec here. Josh, if you're still out there and not already on the phone, you had talked about this particular workspace. I think this is a good time to mention it. Anyone out there that ends up using Benzinga Pro, whether you are just trying it out or you're going to use it for the long term, one thing to know about this workspace that you're seeing me use, it is actually a preset. So if you create a new workspace and you get the new workspace creator, or the recommended workspace page, this one here that says day trading right here, this preset is in fact the exact same workspace that you're seeing me use. So you don't even have to set it up. You can literally start by clicking this gold launch workspace button and you get everything that I was just looking at. The only caveat here is that if you want to adjust the settings in Scanner, be sure to click the three dots and disable flight mode. Now you'll be able to access the filter menu. But that should actually make it pretty easy for you to use, FYI.
Hey, STFU, I think that you might be onto something there. And if we are going to create a left shoulder here, a right shoulder here, it's going to probably see rejections at that 270 area, because on a 1 minute chart, you have a line at 270. All morning up until we broke out just before 10 o'clock, it was getting resistance at 270. Then it was getting support before we lost it at 1010. I think 270 is the level to watch for here if we're going to get that head and shoulders. Go back to 5 minutes. And what is the, okay, so TQQQ now coming back in. The high that we got was that 51.77. That might be as close as we're going to get to 52 for the time being. Well, let's see what we end up getting here. It looks like there's support at 51.40. See if that kicks in, or if this is even finished with the upside here. Looks like it's trying to turn green again. All the other ones we were looking at this morning, oh, there's a big move down in STSS finally, down to VWAP.
STSS. Another quick question. JJ saying, Ryan, does your platform have audible alerts for, say, a certain percentage gain filter for all stocks? So you're saying you want an audible alert if stock XYZ trades up N%?
You can do that with alerts, right?
Yeah, I mean, what you can do is you can actually create a price alert. This is asking you for a specific level, and I believe that this just plays a pop-up. I don't believe that this plays an audible alert. Let me ask you know what? One of the projects that we're actually doing is expanding some of the alerts. So let me at least take this as a note, because this is a really good use case.
My understanding of how it works is that it's going to use your Windows notification system when your alert triggers. So you'll get like one of those little pop-ups down to the corner of your window.
Yep.
And it should give you an audible alert that way. That's my understanding of the way it works with Pro.
For all stocks, any stocks. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're asking for more than the current feature provides. So I don't want to promise something that I can't deliver on. But I actually have a meeting on some of this stuff today. Let me see what I can do. One of the other things to note here is we're actually getting some more notification options this week, I believe, in the release that's coming tomorrow. So just as an aside.
Looks like TQQQ managed to print slightly higher prints here, 51.90, just 10 cents away from the 52 we're looking for here. It's starting to roll over here a little bit. So let's see if we get a pop over 52 or not. But it's looking like this is going to start to come back in here in a little bit. TQQQ. Meanwhile, IVF, this is currently still trading lower. Actually, just went down to the 245 area where it was getting support earlier. FRGT, this thing also trading lower on its way down to the 65 EMA. This has broken the uptrend that is in. STSS still hanging out at VWAP, may also lose that here in a bit. All these names are starting to come in, folks, and guess what? We're only 5 minutes away until the market starts getting up, or the traders start getting up and leaving their desks for lunch.
And thank you all, by the way, for not talking about all of the delicious lunch options that we had and making me absolutely starving. Also, producer and I discussed that this morning. We were both really hungry after yesterday's show. It was not specific to me. So thank you guys for not doing that here today. Weight Watchers, by the way, we talked about this earlier. This still looks like it's on its press for $1. Watch the pop here. Looks like 95 cents going to be that trigger there. It is worth noting that we were as high as $1.04 in the pre-market. I still think this thing tests $1 here today. TQQQ continuing its grind up.
Perfect. STSS, this is continuing its grind lower.
Judge, see, I'm going to get it right this time. I think I said it wrong the last time. Judge, take care of yourself. Have a great day. Yeah, great day.
All right. So it looks like IVF dropped down to under 240 briefly and then popped back up. I think we're going to want to exercise a little bit more caution here with how the market's kind of just going down all on its own, and could be taking some of these names with it. Just be careful. Hey, take care, Joe. All right, ABAT back testing that trend line. If it behaves, if the technicals behave here, we should see a move off that trend line and back over the 65 EMA.
That was ABAT, you said? ABAT?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Volume just needs to be better, but the technicals are behaving for now, so that's good to see for the moment. What did we end up getting here with TQQQ? 51.95. That was the print, and it still doesn't look like it's quite finished yet. But man, does it look like it is having a hard time getting up to 52.
Bitcoin is bouncing here off of the day lows. VIX continues to melt here as the end of the world is actually not in sight. Our Amazon is bouncing here. Apple has actually done a fairly good job bouncing here. That's trying to retake 210. Tesla is also bouncing here. Yeah, Josh, no problem. You're the guy that runs CNC. Yeah, focus on the heavy machining first. We'll be around. And if you don't get an answer, you can always shoot me an email too. I'll make sure I put you in contact with James. James works a lot, takes a lot of phone calls, so it is possible he misses one. We'll make sure we get you in contact with him. IVF, this actually might be trying to turn around here. WW, let's get the dollar holla print here. We're 2 cents away. We're going to get that. We called that one earlier too. Smoke Tuna, we feel like you today, just making all types of good calls.
Looks like Wingstop might turn bearish here. It's starting to slow down, putting in some topping action. Keep an eye on that one. Freight bouncing off of its 65 EMA. Some of these names I don't even think I want to really try and trade anymore. Freight in particular, this is the one that's buying Trump coin. I think be very careful with that. Remember IVF, that's a company that's separating its oncology and fertility businesses. This has just went through a ticker change, so probably a little bit more of a real company than one that's buying Trump coin.
By the way, shout out to the producer earlier. I know when I was trying to read this off my note sheet, I said that the notes might have been wrong. No, I just read it like an idiot. And he had INVO noted in here, which is the name of the company, and also had the correct ticker there. So producer, I'm sorry. I blamed you earlier improperly. And IVF, speaking of that right now, this is actually curling off of that 15 EMA off to 5. Yep. VWAP here, Insight 265. TQQQ continuing 52 prints right now.
Yep. And TQQQ hit that 52. Like to see it.
Love it.
All right, let's see here. Do that. And now we might actually get a better chance to trade SQQQ, but we need to see this thing slow down. The market's trying to recover here. And it's not too extended away, but this little rally that the TQQQ is going on, I think if it keeps going, I think that your resistance area to watch for is going to be about 52.75. That'll put it at about $1.50 away from the VWAP.
Yeah, and real quick, let me address this. Nadeem, you were asking, U.S. lunch is 10:30 New York time. So just to be clear, we are making this easy on ourselves. I cannot say that a majority of people are eating their lunch at 10:30 in the morning, but what we can notice is that from the volume in the market, we seem to see a repeatable pattern of a volume decline around 10:30, and our assumption here is that people are, not locked into the trading desk like they are for the opening print. So maybe they're going to a meeting, maybe they're finishing up another task, or maybe they're planning something around the middle of the day. I know as far as I go, I always try to schedule meetings in the middle of the day. The worst thing ever is scheduling a meeting right around an open or a close, because if you do that, I promise you, all of a sudden that day will become more important and you'll be tied up and you won't be able to watch what's going on. Happens on Fed days all the time. Somehow I always schedule a meeting right when the Fed decision is coming out. I try to avoid it, but it always happens. That's just kind of what we're saying here. We don't mean for that to actually be as what's the word?
And understand that, when I say that 10:30 is when people are starting to leave their desks, this is because, nobody's having lunch right at noon. If they're sitting at their desk and trading, it's not like it's getting served right up to them. People are getting up, they're walking, they're talking with some colleagues, they're going down the elevator, they're making their way out in the street, going to the
smoke break.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out all the different things that they're going to be doing. But the point is that they have already gotten up from their desk and they're starting to do all these things leading into their lunchtime activity. And they're not at their desk trading. So yeah, it's going to be 10:30, and it usually lasts not until 1 p.m., but sometimes a little bit after that. They just start to get Wingstop ripping again.
NVIDIA here down 2.5%. I have a recent newsprint here. Izzy mentioning that the news keeps coming here. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang in a CNBC interview, did see this a second ago, repeatedly says, quote, "I'm certain we can manufacture chips onshore with resources of our country." Also said, by the way, there was a comment there about AI and China being really close behind the U.S. on AI. I think that's strategic. If you care about what I think about that, they're behind. Make no mistake about it. That's China, just so I'm clear.
All right. Well, TQQQ continuing to rip on its way up to the 65 EMA. That's going to be at 52.75. A nice, nice number.
Oh, dude, Big B's. I love this. Yeah, I have to manage the schedule. I keep meetings off the open and close of the day. Bless up, Big B's. That's you. You're a good manager. You're a good boss. That's what you should be doing. Smoke Tuna saying, by the way, it's not about catching the human trades. It's about catching the algo trades. That's a good point, Tuna. You're full of good points.
Algos really like technicals too.
Jensen must be on that smoke break. Oh, Tony.
Gary Frost mentioning CEP. This is an ex-girlfriend I've been trading frequently. This is up 3.5% today. Just hit $34.
And look here. Here comes the crow from the top rope with the flying Macho Man Randy Savage elbow. He's still in it.
Well, because he's wearing it like a championship belt.
That's right.
From the top rope.
My favorite was when Stone Cold was the champion. He would put the belt on his shoulder and then he'd stun people onto the belt. That was something else. That was something else.
My favorite. I don't remember if it was a SmackDown or a Raw, but it was a special guest referee. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he showed up smashed.
Oh yeah,
that was probably
pounding beers.
That was he officiated it. He was so slow to count. It was pissing off the other wrestlers. It was fun. It was just funny. It was all entertainment, of course, but it was just hilarious to watch.
I understand multiple varying opinions here. Who are saying, Ryan, China has caught up, though. That's the AI race. They've caught up a lot. I would agree. I would say that they have caught up, but I do not think they are even. And I think Jensen's comments here are strategic.
Look at CEP go.
Lion here says they're closing the gap. Again, I agree that they're. Look at CEP just go.
They're closing the gap. They have not.
But it's not closed. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't caught up, but they are closing the gap for sure.
Tony wants you to remember that Stone Cold was drinking light beer. He was. It was that really kind of crappy.
Yeah, he had to go wrestle too.
That's true. Can you imagine him just pounding IPAs and then trying to run around and stun people? It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay, I digress. Wrestling's not going to help us make any money here today.
Shoulder confirmed. I mean, if we have to see him move away from this VWAP the shoulder could still go as high as the 277, where it was the other ones were. So maybe there's a pop above VWAP that is instantly met with sellers that takes it right back down. But that's going to be the thing to watch for if this is going to be a head and shoulders. So let's see if this resolves lower, because if after the right shoulder, this thing is going to break the neckline and go lower. Neckline seems to be about 240. So we'll end up seeing if that's what we get.
8.5% on SQQQ. Boom, boom, boom. Have a good one, man. I'll be here tomorrow.
And look at this TQQQ. Now that we went above 52, printed as high as 52.31. Now we're losing that level, coming back in.
Real quick here, did anyone hold TGTX? This is one that we've been talking about for a while here on this show. I've actually traded this one a bunch. I did pretty well with this, but I did pretty well with this up towards like the high teens, and I'm out of it. And this honestly is one of the better moves. Did anyone hold this for the long term? I'm generally not a long-term biotech holder, but this one was one that we had flagged. We were talking about this 12, 14, 16 bucks. Yep. Jay Rice, I knew you were going to chime in. I do remember when it was 12. Like I said, made money on this, walked away with a profit, but probably should have just held on to it long term. Do you still have a piece, Jay? Good stuff if you do.
Well done on SQQQ, Pete. Excellent stuff. Yeah, they are STFU. Looks like a lot of them could be up in the 36 handle.
Eris Stock Market been holding TGTX since 30s. You love to see that, my man. Let me know what your target is with that. DM was infinitely cooler than Stone Cold Steve Austin. DM. Why? I'm not a huge wrestling aficionado. I don't know what DM. Do you know who he's referencing?
Not really. Unless you're talking
You'll have to
about,
let me know.
because the only one that I could think of whose DM would be Dominic Mysterio, and I think Mysterio wasn't he like the father to Dominic?
I thought it was Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio was his father, is who I'm referring to. I don't know who DM is. If you're talking about the Attitude Era, the big names back then were
Deborah Marshall. I don't even know who that is.
I have no recollection of who that was in the Attitude Era. You're going to think of names like the Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian, and of course The Rock. This is around the time when the Hulk came back. He came into from WCW. Gosh, I must have watched too much of that stuff with all the history I know about this. But the early 2000s were some of the greatest periods for that kind of entertainment. Just a lot of fun stuff.
Joe here saying holding TGTX. That's awesome. And then ET also saying if you walked away in the green, you won. Yeah, I don't feel bad about it. I'd feel bad about it if biotechs were a larger part of my swing trade or my trading plan. They're not. So the fact that I did end up making money on that is great instead of a loss, as you're alluding to here.
Yep.
Yes, we are watching CEP. I'm not trading it here. Crow is still in it. RE stock market, we had that huge spike there on the screen.
And absolutely rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and Owen Hart.
Yeah,
all those guys.
I remember that. That was super sad. That was super sad.
IVF, keep an eye on it. It's still trying to recapture VWAP. Maybe if this particular candle gets rejected, that might be the one we needed to see for the right shoulder. So just keep an eye on IVF. I don't know if it's going to break out or not here.
Ed, I didn't think anyone else knew who Insane Clown Posse was, but that's something from my childhood there. Not necessarily thrilled about it. By the way, Izzy, good mention here. WW Weight Watchers, we did get our dollar target there.
Well done on that one, guys.
Lion asking about the Iraq and Afghanistan war costing 18 trillion. What did we accomplish? Zero. We actually got one of the world's worst terrorists and put him at the bottom of the ocean. So I wouldn't say we accomplished zero. Agree with you, though. Too much money spent on these wars and killing. I'm with you on that. Not sure how that applies here.
All right. Okay, so looks like we might be getting it here with IVF. That it's starting to get rejected. We'll see if the selling picks up and takes us down to 240.
So we would need a huge move higher here in the market to really set up an SQQQ VWAP trade, it looks like. So we were 40 cents away from the VWAP on this recent pull. I don't know if we get that here today, and I'm unsure if the TQQQ is going to stretch out to give us another one. Michael, I'm really glad that you hit this one early. You too, 13.
I'm waiting for the next opportunity, and if the TQQQ drops down to 51.50, that could be a good ad spot. I'm keeping an eye on it.
STFU said, I've seen Insane Clown Posse in concert in the 90s, and to be clear, I'm not proud of it. Never saw him in concert there. Did own an album. Did own the Great Malenko, though. Robert, this is a good question because we talk about this all of the time. Do you have a specific way that you set up your VWAP? So I don't. Again, this is a really good, because we've been asked about this. So when I plop VWAP on my charts here on TradingView, I make no adjustments to the settings. Now, some of the settings in the one here in TradingView look fairly remedial compared to some in the broker, but the same is true in my broker. I do not adjust any settings on that. I just use the VWAP study just the way it comes. Mm-hmm. That's always been the case.
And I don't make any adjustments to mine either, because I feel like if I start doing that, then I'm taking my edge away, because it's something that everybody else is using. Now, I realize that my values may not be the same as Ryan's, but I know that enough people are looking at the same values that I have to know that if everybody's looking at if we're all looking at the same thing, then nobody has a real leg up. We all see the same data.
They're often in the same area too. Even if those values are different, they're often not very different.
Mm-hmm.
So
So when I see that, if I see an indicator that I know that everybody's, a lot of people are seeing the same values, then they're probably all thinking the same thing I am, which is, okay, well, this is what the price action could be up at the, when we get to the VWAP, we could see a rejection, we could see a breakout, all those different things. We know that we're all looking at the same thing. It's just a matter of what we think is going to happen when it gets up there. And but as long as we have the same data, I think that's all I need, just to make sure we're all looking at the same stuff for my trading plan.
Wow, what a move here in MicroStrategy. It's actually mirroring the Bitcoin move, at least for the most part.
Here we go. Well, there's got your wish on the SQQQ going down to 32.50.
Boy, are we going to get a trade on that?
This is where we would need to start seeing a bounce happen in the SQQQ.
Jay Diamond, where do we short at Mr.? Where's the short spot on Mr. here? 380, 385? Where's the short spot? MSTR.
Well, Lion, here's the thing. I think a lot of funds and investment firms are really starting to look at different infrastructure companies because I think that's where I've been seeing a lot of discussion on where money is going to be spent on in the U.S. And with all the build out that's going to be needing to be had with the construction of new facilities for manufacturing, we're going to need that energy capacity. So I would think that construction and infrastructure are going to be some really big, good defensive names to take a look at, for maybe the next year or so.
Okay, good stuff there.
I mean, Ryan, we have talked about these infrastructure plays being good. I still think CAT could be a great one. I mean, where's that at now? They have earnings this morning. That might present some opportunities here. It popped initially, ran up to almost the 500-day SMA, and now they've come back down to the consolidation where they were at the close yesterday, basically.
Ed's asking me if I had Jinko jeans back in the day. Yeah, I did. The big baggy jeans. Yeah, I sure did. Man, JNKO, right? JNCO. Yes, I did.
So it looks like Caterpillar may still have some more potential downside, but I think this is going to be a really good one at some point here.
They reported earnings today.
They did. Worse than expected. That's fine. That just creates more opportunity for a discount. Don't want to buy it up here quite yet, but under 300 would be very interesting. Looks like they had both the top and bottom miss. What else here? They warn of a 250 to 350 million tariff hit. It's increased uncertainty. They expect Q2 sales and revenues to be similar to last year's same quarter. So go back and look and see what they did in the second quarter of last year. That's what they are anticipating. And wouldn't you know it, we are starting to get that move for an SQQQ. We'll see if this ends up getting going here. Parachute pants? You mean like the MC Hammer pants?
Dude, you remember I had in middle school, I had a guy for some project. His project was, this is how you make MC Hammer pants. And he brought in garbage bags and he cut them and tied them in a way where it literally looked like MC Hammer pants. It was, I will never forget that. As silly as it was, I'll never forget that.
But did he break it down?
Oh, he broke it down.
All
he
right.
was part of the B-Boy Club. He was breaking it down.
The B-Boy Club, all right.
I'm not even kidding. I am not even kidding.
Oh, Jay Rice. Let's see, FLR. That's Fluor, right?
Yeah, that's a really good infrastructure play. We talked about that one with some of the fires too, by the way.
My wife used to do global mobility for them. They're one of her company is one of their clients. Price target to 49. Yeah.
Oh, Mike's not liking this at all. I don't know what Cavarici is. Sorry. Is he Cavar? I don't know what that is.
What we've got to stop. We've got to stop. What do we got to stop, Mike? What are we doing? What are we making you upset about? Tell us.
I got a couple of things. If I start, Market Sniper, not even waiting, too legit to quit. You remember that song? God, that was a monster. We're actually going to be speaking with one of MC Hammer's backup dancers here in a few minutes. So let's actually, put some questions together. Yeah, put some questions together.
Great day for this. So yeah, you got Too Legit to Quit. You got I don't remember the name of the song, but he was getting down on his knees saying that we got to pray just to make it today. I say we.
I didn't have 13 singing MC Hammer on my bingo card today. Well, we're going to close today out with a bang. That's for sure. By the way, folks, just all seriousness here, 2 minutes. We're going to go to a quick all access. Then we're going to throw it back to me. I'm going to bring on the story trading fellows. Then we got Kevin with Futures Fever. And by the way, be nice to Kevin. Kevin's going to be filling in for me on Friday. You're going to be working with Kevin on Friday, 13. We got him all prepared. We got him ready to go. He said he's extremely excited. And you know what else he told me? He told me that he thinks this community that we have created here is awesome. And he's really, really serious about trying to carry it forward in my absence. And I appreciated that quite a bit. So be sure to be nice to Kevin here. 13, we're going to go over to all access. Let me check the time here. Yeah, we're going to go to all access here in a minute. You got any closing comments here for the group?
Oh, it was a fun day of talking some nostalgic things with y'all. Is talking WWE and MC Hammer. Let's see how we do tomorrow. I hope you folks have a wonderful rest of your day. You're gonna have a lot of fun with Dan next. Let's keep it going, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, 13. Really good stuff as always. 13 really coming in here with the heat today. We'll be back at this again tomorrow. But now, folks, it is your favorite time. Let's get more of your MC Hammer questions answered here. We're actually going to talk to the lead backup dancer for MC Hammer, Dan Leach. Dan, how's it going, man? Let me ask you, how many pairs of Hammer pants do you still have?
14. Now listen, not only was I a backup dancer, I was the genesis of the You Can't Touch This dance. I also, this is actually true, I modeled Z Cavaricci's, I can't believe you don't know those, at a great store called Guys and Gals in the 1990s. So we've got just things going all over the place. And Hammer was by 1990. It was the Pistons theme during the Bad Boys days. I was at a Pistons game against the Bulls, and they played You Can't Touch This. And I called my mom back on that old huge cell phone.
Yeah, the brick.
Yeah, can you go get the CD for me? She went to Kmart, got it. It was there when I got home. My mom's the best. So Hammer is the truth.
That is awesome. Shout out to the Leech Mama. That's an awesome move right there. All right, Dan, really, really good. I can't believe the cross currents here today. That's really awesome. Tell us what you got coming up here on All Access.
We got my man Eric Schlorf, the CEO of C-Star Medical. Looking forward to talking to him, and maybe he's a big Hammer fan too.
Okay. All Access starts right now. I'm going to get out of your hair here, Dan. Take care of yourself.
Love you, Rye. Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I do have a wonderful guest for you today. It is Eric Schlorf, the CEO of C-Star Medical. Their NASDAQ ticker is ICU. He's joining us for exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome in the CEO of C-Star Medical, Eric Schlorf. It's great to be with you today.
Hey, thanks, Dan. And I'm sorry to disappoint, but I was not a backup dancer for MC Hammer.
That's all right. As long as you watched me in the background, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Eric, looking forward to getting into C-Star Medical with you. Let's talk about giving an overview if you want to start off here.
Yeah, so thanks, so much for the opportunity to provide an overview of C-Star Medical to your Benzinga All Access viewers. We're really excited about the opportunities and believe we are nearing several important milestones that I'll talk about today. Before I begin, though, I do want to remind investors that I'll be making forward-looking statements, so please review our SEC filings for further information about our company. Now, let me provide a quick overview of C-Star Medical. We are bringing organ-saving and life-saving solutions to critically ill patients that are really under attack by destructive hyperinflammation, so inflammation out of control. Our patented and proprietary selective cytopheretic device, also known as SCD therapy, is the first and only therapy to selectively target the most highly activated neutrophils and monocytes responsible for this hyperactive immune response. Quellimune is our first commercial product, and this is for pediatric patients that are in the intensive care unit with acute kidney injury. This is a small but very important market. 50% mortality rate, Most of the time, these patients have days to live. Okay, we're not talking years, we're talking days. And those that are fortunate to survive are usually on long-term dialysis. And I'm happy to report that we're also hearing amazing stories from a lot of the children's hospitals around the country that have adopted Quellimune. We also have a registration trial underway for acute kidney injury in adults. That's nearly 50% enrolled. We're excited about this opportunity that we estimate to be around $4.5 billion market opportunity in the United States alone annually. And not only that, we don't stop just there. This really does work across multiple indications, so an even larger market opportunity as we develop the therapy with more indications.
Such important and amazing work you're doing, Eric. And I know C-Star is also focused on treatments for critically ill patients facing organ failure and potential loss of life. Let's talk about the current problem of that and why the treatments available today are simply falling short.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, today our focus is on patients that are in the ICU facing critical and in many cases irreparable damage to organs, resulting in organ failure and even loss of life. Their immune systems have overreacted, producing destructive hyperinflammation that is damaging cells and tissues. Unfortunately, you can't eliminate the immune response, but you need to balance the immune system to get rid of the destruction, but also maintain healthy immune function. Our SCD therapy does what no other therapy can do. It neutralizes the primary immune cells that are overreacting and returns them to the body in a deactivated form. This process leads to fewer destructive cells and a more balanced immune system.
That's awesome. I mean, I know you talked, Eric, about Quellimune, and it was approved by the FDA in 2024 to treat acute kidney injury, or otherwise known as AKI. How does this treatment work, and what has been the impact since it's been in the market?
Yeah, so Quellimune is really a smaller version of the adults SCD therapy. Quellimune today fits right into the existing continuous renal replacement therapy system. So think of all the infrastructure and the equipment is already in the ICUs today. So the hospitals don't need to buy it, which is a huge bonus because, we can sell into a disposable market, which is how we actually sell our product on a daily basis. And, and I can't overemphasize enough the impact this has had on patients' lives. I mean, we're hearing amazing stories from some of our customers already. There was actually one at the University of Michigan. This was a patient that had a kidney transplant. They were immunosuppressed. They then developed lymphoma or cancer. They had a mortality rate of about 95% chance of dying. That patient, I can gladly say, is now home receiving normal, chemotherapy once again and normal kidney function. And so, those are the kinds of stories that we hear every single day that obviously make it a very easy way for us to go to work and do what we do.
And you mentioned ICU. That's why great ticker, having your ticker be ICU. It all comes together, Eric.
It does.
Tell us a little bit about the technology that's underpinning Quellimune, known as Selective Cytopheretic Device, or SCD. What promises does that hold?
Yeah, the technology for Quellimune and the SCD and in adults are really the same. They're just different sizes to allow fluid differences because patients that are pediatric are different size, obviously, than adults. The therapy does what no other therapy can do. It neutralizes these destructive immune cells and returns them into the body into deactivated state. But more importantly, though, this therapy is broadly applicable to many serious life-threatening conditions in renal, cardiorenal, cardiac surgery, certain chronic diseases such as end-stage renal diseases. So the whole underpinning is that when the immune system is out of balance, this is where the SCD may have a real chance to be able to help that patient.
Something else that's fantastic you guys have received. I know C-Star has received breakthrough device designation multiple times from the FDA over the past few years. Well, Eric, why is that so important to the company and its prospects?
Yeah, look, it's actually quite simple. Yes, we do have a robust pipeline of product indications, primarily based on these breakthrough device designations that were granted by the FDA. Maybe you give the viewers a little context, So if you think about what we're doing is if you had one drug that could address all these different various conditions without changing the formulation, we believe that's what we have is one drug with the SCD, right? That can treat adults as well as children. But more importantly, when we think about the breakthrough device designation by the FDA, there's some key criteria that are really important. So it must have to be a more effective treatment than what's already out there, and that no other cleared or approved alternatives exist. and that it offers a significant advantage over existing, which is exactly what the SCD in adults as well as now children through their breakthrough devices have done. More importantly, for shareholders or investors, this actually helps us speed up the review process itself with the FDA. We can actually have much more engaged and quicker discussions and don't have to wait 75 days just for a meeting. So this really does allow us to have that dialogue that, you know, all companies really working with the agency really do want to have, which is a dialogue on a very quick timeline.
Yeah, and Eric, as you well know, speeding up that process with the FDA, always a positive thing. Let's talk about the market opportunity that you believe for QuellImmune and C-Star's other SCD devices. What do you see that right now?
Yeah, you know, QuellImmune in the pediatric setting is an important market because it literally is saving organs, saving lives in this very young patient population, which we, you know, the market's probably around 4,000 patients. But, you know, when we think about the adult population, you know, this adult AKI or acute kidney injury really is our near-term opportunity. With that registration trial underway, you know, we could be filing that PMA sometime in next year. You know, that's a 200,000 patient population. So it's about 50 times the size of the pediatric in the United States alone, which then translates to about $4.5 billion annually. And, you know, following that, you know, you look at all the other breakthrough device designation grants that we've received, now 6, you know, we see a potential doubling of that opportunity from 4.5 to around 9 billion annual. And then, you know, it just takes time to get there, but the near-term opportunity in our view is significant, especially because of given the unmet clinical needs here.
Well, very exciting times for C-Star Medical. That's definitely for sure. And Eric, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, Dan. It was great to be on here, and have a great day.
Hey, you as well. The pleasure and honor all mine. That was the CEO of C-Star Medical, Eric Schlorf. Their NASDAQ ticker is ICU. Now let's send it back to a man whose draft stock would never drop like Shedeur Sanders did, the great Ryan Faluna.
Yeah, definitely. That was something else, huh? That slide was something else there. What did you think about
You believe
that
that,
whole
like, there was, I guess, at least 3 to 5 teams that took him completely off their draft board? Like, they were never going to touch him no matter what.
Yeah, I can totally believe that.
I would take either overall number 1 or maybe overall number 10.
Now, see, now you're making me feel good, Dan. You're always a first round draft pick in my book. Dan, really good stuff there. Really good stuff there with Eric. Let me know what kind of shorts you're modeling next.
You got it. Well,
that is Dan Leach. We'll check in with him next time. Dan, take care of yourself. Have a great rest of your day. I got to just click one. Producer. All right, that is Dan. We'll get that out of the way here. Don't forget, by the way, just kind of on the MC Hammer discussion that we were having earlier, the Running Man was stolen from some English chaps in Cardiff in 1989 in Wales. So he didn't invent that. All right, enough MC Hammer talk. Let's bring on Ben. Ben's probably like, what the hell is Ryan talking about right now? I got no effing idea what's going on. We had a lot of fun here this morning, Ben. How are you guys doing?
Well, it's been tough. It's been interesting the last several days. You know, QQQ and SPY, you see this move here, Ryan. I'll just give you a quick little macro before we let you go.
Yeah.
This move from the 20 DMA to the 50 is something I had predicted pretty accurately, but I have not made money from it, man. This has been a very, very hard move, at least for me to trade, because on the way from the 20 to 50, it's been very, very choppy if you're trying to do like index level options. And underneath it all, the breadth has been very bad. Stock's not reacting well, especially, you know, smaller caps to catalyst. So I've actually had a hard time the last several days, even though I called this move pretty freaking precisely. Let's look at that 50 DMA rejection right there. You know, I got into some SQQQ, but overall, a pretty rough 3 days for me. I got to be honest with you, Ryan.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've watched you guys trade. I'm in no doubt that you're going to turn that around. But let me help you. Let me speed this up here a little bit. I've actually moved away from trading QQQ and SPY because the TQQQ and the SQQQ have been so good. And what our group has been doing, we've been very, very specific on TQQQ. When you get $1 away from the VWAP intraday, $1.50 away away from the VWAP intraday, it almost always returns back to the VWAP. That's your buy trigger.
Wow.
And on the SQQQ, it's $1.15 to $1.25. Watch it before you do it. We had a number of gentlemen hit it here this morning, and it was spot on. Let's see if we can help you with that.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I usually don't use VWAP. I know a lot of people do, so I'll have to look into that.
Watch it first. Give it a shot. I'll get out of your hair. Enjoy the day.
Sounds good. Thanks. Awesome. All right. So here we are. I've been looking at this trade here from, the bottom, QQQ SPY, as a reversion to the mean trade. That's a nice way of putting it. Some people might call it a dead cat bounce. I've been saying, I think 50 DMA to 200 DMA is the max that this can go. So maybe this turns around, and we get another further push to the 200 DMA, possibly catalyzed by Meta and Microsoft earnings tonight. But I've been getting more and more bearish the higher we go. I think the economic data and the worries about recession or stagflation not behind us, low GDP this morning. And that's how I see this. I just see this as that reversion to the mean, dead cat bounce. The higher we go, the more risk, and we're not going above the 200 DMA. That's my take on the macro. I think the Godfather knows here has been maybe a little bit more bullish than me on this. So let's get your take on that.
Look, I completely agree that risks are elevated. We're essentially, with SPY, I'm just looking at it here, 547. We were 546. That's where we opened the day after Liberation Day. So look, we're completely back. We're up over 7% in the last 6 days. Yes, risks are now elevated again. We have to make a move. There has to be something in terms of a real catalytic event, sentiment or otherwise, that will take us up above these levels, because we've just had, a bounce back move here. And I think, what's in front of us, well, mega cap earnings, where the leadership groups in this market, banks and mega cap tech. What's been sold the most in terms of de-risking from the beginning of March, really, not just by domestic, but also international holders, mega cap tech and banks. So we really do need this, which makes, all eyes on Meta and Microsoft today. And of course, Apple and Amazon tomorrow, even more important. So, it's not that I'm necessarily more bullish. I do think that the incremental news out of the trade is going to be positive. My view on this whole thing since the get-go is, look, it's completely unsustainable at these levels. And if I'm wrong, then this is going to push the U.S. into recession and a material stagflationary environment. And if that's the case, recession risk is massively underpriced in this market.
Yep.
We're going to go right back to that sort of 4,600 level, and below, if that's the case. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's political will to allow that to happen. I think the Trump put will kick in before then. I actually was surprised by the economic data, not the weakness in it, but the reaction to the Fed funds futures. Yesterday, of course, we got weak numbers on consumer confidence. That was, kind of no surprise. We got weak numbers on JOLTS. This morning we got weak numbers on ADP, and of course, stronger numbers on the PCE element of it, which really points to stagflation, right? You got the slowing growth and rising inflation, higher prices, and we're going to see this again. And I'm really looking for the PMI manufacturing numbers on Thursday to talk about input cost to manufacturing, because the last time prices paid was announced, they were the hottest since 2022. So
is that tomorrow or next Thursday?
That's on Thursday. So
Tomorrow, Thursday.
What we've seen in all of the soft data, consumer confidence, etc., that hasn't yet showed up in the hard data is really starting to show up in the hard data. We saw a bit of that. ADP, of course, is just a precursor to what we get for real numbers, the ones that market really cares about, which is the non-farm numbers on Friday morning. And that could be the first real hard number that will start to reflect some of this. And if you look at retail behavior in the market, retail hasn't really stopped buying, and they only really stop buying when jobs are lost. And if we start to see that, and ADP pointed to that this morning, then all bets are off. But again, I think that we get a stick safe, to use your words, from Trump. I think we're going to see some incremental news in terms of tariff deals. I think at the end of the day, all of this is going to be distilled down to sort of 10% across the board for most of these nations that don't factor in. And then of the 18 that really are of consequence, there'll be something in that sort of 10 to 20% band. So Trump's going to get his external revenue agency. He's going to flip side, to lowering taxes, all the things that he promised, decreasing bank regulation, these sorts of things to add to stimulus in the end of the year and make himself look good right before primary. So, or interim. So, that's my view. I have no idea how the market's going to respond. I'm hoping, and you pointed it out, that Meta is really key here, right? We saw weakness on Snap, although I'm not sure that that's necessarily a great indicator. Google numbers came in relatively okay, but ad spending is the tip of the spear when it comes to what gets turns first in a declining growth environment. So if they're solid, and if their CapEx budget, along with Amazon's in particular, and Microsoft for that matter, coincide with what we heard out of Google, then then I think we start to see some of this selling reverse in the big cap tech. The 60 billion in U.S. equities that were sold by foreigners since the beginning of March. A lot of that came out of that trade. Overweight U.S. exceptionalism was not just a domestic phenomenon. So, that's my bet. I'm positioned for it by being long Soxel for that reason. I will be the first to change and move quickly if that doesn't materialize. But we are going to know, half of it we're going to know this afternoon. The other half we're going to know by tomorrow afternoon.
All right, you got some kahunas there. I'm pretty bearish right now, but I gotta tell you, I'm not acting as bearish as I should be. I got way too much long exposure. But let's dig into some specific stocks. I see a bunch of comments here about CEP, and this is actually a name you crushed in our community. A lot of people made a ton of money on this, all the way up. So why don't you tell folks a little bit about how you crushed this trade, and if you're still in it or not, or watching.
So I'm not currently in it. Oh, I was just putting it up on my screen. Wow. Yeah, I see some guys in the community who continue to follow it closer than I have.
Well, you had some sells up there in the 30s, I believe, didn't you?
I did, and then I thought the trade was over, but clearly the momentum is back in this thing. Look, you can't value this thing. So, and if there's no point in talking about fundamentals, but the basis of the trade is twofold. Number one, follow the money. This is Lutnick's son, through Cantor, which was obviously the SPAC, as well as through Tether and their involvement. But you got Bitfinex involved in here. You've got SoftBank involved in here. So you've got big money involved in here, effectively trying to replicate, the MSTR model. So I assume there's some tailwind to Bitcoin. I don't know if that's contributing to the strength this morning.
Don't really see any
not really.
Doing its own thing.
So I don't know if I've missed anything, but I it looks to be people trading on price action. So if I held it here, I'd probably be biased to take some off the table.
Yeah,
but I'm
absolutely.
just currently not trading in that square.
So I want to point out a couple stocks from yesterday that I believe are maybe an inflection point catalyst here. VKTX, a stock I've held in my long-term account for a long time, which I'm now probably down on from my average. But I did double my position yesterday on VKTX, and the reason I did it is it's finally getting some recognition from Wall Street. I believe it was Cantor Fitzgerald coming out with a 104 price target yesterday, and combine that with a technical move above the 50-day moving average. Look at that. Look at how long we've been below the 50-day, above the 50-day. So we had a nice trade in it yesterday, got 100% on some call options I called out, but I also doubled my position, or at least increased it pretty significantly. I'm not sure if it ended up being a double, somewhere between a 50 and 100% increase in my retirement account on VKTX. So just wanted to point out that news and the fact that I think it was an inflection point day there for that. Also, HIMS, I believe it was an inflection point catalyst in a way. Whoa, what just happened there? An alien just came and took the Godfather nose up to the
Yeah, I
face.
lost my monitor.
So, okay, him's
Watch
another
out.
one where it's not trading. It doesn't look like an inflection point catalyst on the chart, but I believe this was really de-risked. I think one of the biggest bear arguments on HIMS was that these GLP-1s they're selling, they're going to be sued or some litigation or whatever. And instead, they partnered here with Novo Nordisk yesterday to sell that GLP-1. I think that's a massive, massive inflection point that basically invalidates the bear thesis in my view. I own this in my retirement account. I traded it yesterday successfully. I only slightly increased this in my retirement account yesterday, but now it's moving towards possibly a gap fill. That might be a good entry there, 30.87. Did either of you have any comments on those two stocks, VKTX and HIMS?
So I didn't play it because I felt like I missed it. It obviously ran up in pre-market, really fast on that news.
Yeah, that was super fast on HIMS.
And I wasn't in it prior to that. I have been in and out of the stock at various times. Honestly, I've never really traded it particularly well. So I looked at the news and I was like, okay, this is great. They're not making any money off of the drug itself, but that's not really the point. The point is they make money on the consultations for providing prescription. Now they're not going to lose, so they can add to their product offering breadth, not just the prescription drugs, but also the compounded stuff. It takes away that litigation, which is a point that you made in our Discord. And then I think the other part is it just brings more people to the platform, and this is a cross-selling opportunity, right? It's you're building a flywheel here. You're getting more and more people onboarded. More and more people are turning to online for these personalized health needs. So the same people that are using GLP-1s, some of them are probably getting testosterone replacement therapy, hair loss, sex meds, like you name it, right? So that's where the flywheel kicks in, and that's where I think it's possible that this is a long-term bull, but to HIMS. But near term, I just thought it was overbought, and I haven't. Maybe it's worth me now taking a fundamental sharp pencil to it and seeing whether this is a good entry point. But I have not yet.
New 52-week high on CEP. I think it just exploded.
Wow.
This gap fill here at 30.87 looks pretty interesting on HIMS.
Just to touch more on that a little bit too. It's like, what is it at? Oh, 41. This thing is flying. Wow.
Wowzers.
Jeez.
Incredible. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Brett. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say you have to look at like HIMS as a digital product and footprint that they're building compared to the clinics. So I mean, it's the way of the future and everything. I mean, all these other ones too. All these people are going online and ordering all this stuff, and it's like these. I think it's called telehealth doctors too, Ben. Is that correct?
It's some telehealth in there,
consultations online and all that stuff. So pretty interesting business model that should flourish and do very well.
Wow. Maybe this what's that?
It's not an inexpensive stock, but it probably won't be. It hasn't been for a long time.
Maybe this move in CEP will light a fire under CLBR. It's starting to do that now, you see. That money's got to go somewhere. I trade trends a lot, and to me, this trend is just like the SPAC trend, SPAC memes. So, Bitcoin, Donald Trump Jr., it was just CLBR one, Webull another one. So, wow. So anyway, CLBR is one that I got into because of CEP, and I was looking for where is that money going to rotate. And late last week, I saw money starting to flow, the chart perking up in CLBR. So I got into that. It worked out well, but I didn't take profits. I'm still in CLBR. And then just by luck, this big move on Monday, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted about CLBR. The deal is not closed yet. It's a Donald Trump Jr. backed or as part of the SPAC or whatever, grab a gun. But he tweeted like great things coming for it soon. So I'm still in this one. I should have taken profits, obviously, but we'll see. This big move in CEP, I do believe when you get big moves like this in a particular theme, in this case, SPACs, you can say it's a Bitcoin theme, but I think it's more about the low liquidity SPAC situation more than the Bitcoin. And then, the Bitcoin's just the sentiment. So yeah, we'll see if CLBR can get a bid here. It's starting to get a bid, so not bad. So still in that one. And then Bull, which has been really disappointing, also a SPAC that de-SPAC'd. And on the first day, well, our community killed it. So I got to say, disappointing for me because I didn't, even though we got the alert the day before and you guys were loading up, a lot of people in our community were loading up on Bull around $10 and it went up like 8 times. So a lot of people in our community made a killing on Bull. I was like traveling, whatever. I didn't do it. And then, and now I'm looking for an opportunity to benefit. We're playing it with the warrants. We're not going to get too granular with the warrants, but I will say these warrants brought to us by you, the Godfather knows, has been much, much, much more stable than the underlying stock. As you can see, Bull, this is one of the warrants, Bull W, and then we have Bull Z over here, pretty stable. So been avoiding this disaster in BULL, but obviously would love to finally see a pop in here. And if it does pop, the warrants will go up. 1340 was a prior resistance level. You can see it right on the chart here on March 28th. And it bounced off 1341 today. Probably not a coincidence. Maybe finally that's the low. What do you guys think?
I want to say something about this because I spent a couple of hours going through all the filings last night, trying to figure out why this thing is essentially traded down every single day since that initial big pop. And on a normal IPO, there's typically staged lockups releases that usually start to kick in about 180 days from deal close. I found in the small print on the SPAC, which has different rules, that 25% of the roll-in shares were available to trade on closing. So if you add to that the SKGR shares that were in existence in the SPAC already, those that weren't redeemed prior to this transaction, which was like 5.8 million, plus some other sponsor shares and all the rest of it, you get about 125 million freely tradable shares. So numbers that you're seeing out there in terms of short position, on the stock, etc., or short interest are not accurate. The float is way, way larger. So I went back and I looked at, since this thing closed on the 11th, what have we traded? We've traded 107, almost 110 million shares. So, you have to estimate, how much of that you think are coming from the original Bull holders. And by the way, these guys have cost bases that are, some of them are like 30 cents a share. These are, founders of Webull. So, they're well in a profit position. I estimated that if 70% of the selling that we've seen has been organic from those holders, then we've got about a week worth of selling based on the sort of 6 to 7 million average volume we're seeing out of Bull. That might coincide, with what you were saying in terms of a fundamental support level here at 1350. That's certainly held thus far. I think we ticked as low as 1340 and then bounced this morning. So that's kind of what I'm watching there. One more week. I'd like to see some of that dry up. Certainly the stock looks oversold, and I know that the folks that are watching this closely are for the most part expecting an oversold bounce here. So.
All right, so lots of great research on Bull from the Godfather Knows in our Discord. I've also put in a ton of great research on that in terms of the relationship between the warrants and the underlying price. Brought to you by some collaboration I've been doing with ChatGPT. Really cool graphs that show you what can happen with the warrants. So doing a lot of research on that in our community. So CLBR, Bull, we're into this SPAC trade in our community. Let me jump down. We got Hood earnings. I missed the Wing earnings. I saw someone in the comments just posted, so I put it on my watch list. So Wing must have had good earnings. Haven't looked at it. Hood earnings this afternoon. Look, Hood is a top position in my long-term account. I think it's a top 5 position. But I think it's going to be a great report. I really do. But I hesitate to play this for earnings because I just feel like the stock is really highly influenced by what the indices do. So I don't know. I did take a small call option position just for the day. Maybe I could sell in power hour as people get pumped up for the earnings report. But that's about it. I don't know if you guys have a differing opinion on making a bet on earnings. I just feel it'll be great. All right, look, this is why I have cold feet about it. You see this? This was an awesome earnings report. It was like $1 EPS or something like that. And it was a real dollar EPS. And I was really impressed by how they got there and all the commentary around it. And I'm like, this thing could be worth 80 to $100, and I expected it, to move up, and it didn't. It just collapsed. And I think a lot of this was macro headwinds. So that's why I hesitate taking a bet on earnings. What do you guys think about it?
I do think the earnings will be good as well, but I'm wary about the reaction.
Yeah.
It's been an environment where people have, for good reason, been cautious, which means that good results have been rewarded, but rewarded on a relative muted basis. And even if there's one piece of the puzzle off, you can get taken out to the woodshed, as we saw with GDX this morning.
We'll talk about that next.
Yeah, so I own a little bit, just from the last time we played it. I have sort of a legacy position from the last quarter in my long-term account because I want to keep tabs on the story and I like it long-term. I'm also looking at it as a read-through for bull, to the extent that there is a positive sentiment and the stock does trade higher. I think a lot of the same crowd that owns Hood or even uses the product probably also uses the Webull product.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, the Webull product is what you're looking at right now. This is the desktop, and I use it. I think it's far superior than any other app out there. I used to use the TD Ameritrade app, but then they shut down, and I did research on like every single app that was available out there. And for an active trader, I think this far beats everything out there, including Robinhood by miles.
Really, you don't like Thinkorswim?
No,
Yeah,
Thinkorswim does not have good news feed. See, that's the thing. A lot of people don't look at news. Yeah, Webull has much better news feed than Thinkorswim, but
Hey,
also,
guys, you know who has a good news feed, right?
yes.
Okay, I'll get out of your hair. I'll get out of your hair.
I just had a chat with the folks at Benzinga Pro yesterday, Ryan, and I'm gonna get set up. I'm gonna start testing out Benzinga Pro for their news feed, and we'll see if I like it. If I like it, we'll start using the Benzinga Pro newsfeed because there are some holes in Webull. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But in any case, what was I talking about here? Let's move on. We only got a few minutes left. Yeah. So as he said even if one little thing is wrong in this environment, look what happened here with WGS. So I'm down on this currently. In the morning, it looked like we had some, while you were sleeping, I guess, our community was like buying 82 to 83, and some folks flipped it at 85 to 86. I had a small flip in there for a profit, but then I started averaging down during the day. Probably like 73 average at this point. Wow, it's coming back fast though as we speak. But WGS taken to the woodshed on a beat and raise, revenue beat, EPS beat. Guidance was higher than they previously guided for. And the thing is down 45% a few minutes ago to the 200 DMA. This is your stock. The Godfather knows. I mean, I'm not trying to blame you or anything. I did my own research and I jumped on it. I read the press release this morning and I liked it. But in any case, maybe an opportunity still here. I ended up now with a pretty big position at 72, 73 bucks.
Yeah, I went into it with a small trade position, about a quarter size. Going into the quarter, obviously I'm down on that. And then I subsequently added two pieces to that on the trade account. And then, when I saw this thing continue to go under 70, I'm like, I'm going to rebuild a long-term position here because this was a huge, huge winner for me in 2024 when this thing came from less than $15, to trade all the way up to 100. So I love the fundamentals of this business. They are definitely a market share leader. 80% of covered lives. They're continuing to expand in Medicare, Medicaid. They've got 80% market share among genetic experts. And, like you said, this quarter, they posted 43% revenue growth. They beat by 6.5 to 7 million on the top line. They came in with 27 cents adjusted earnings versus 6. As is typical seasonally, you get a lot of this insurance pay stuff, and again, most of this genetic testing is covered. That gets like budgets and stuff, copay that gets allocated in Q4. So this is the third quarter. So they've recently inflected to both adjusted EBITDA and adjusted earnings positive. This is the third quarter of positive earnings. The earnings were again positive, but less on a magnitude basis than what they saw in Q4. And the volume of tests, went down a little bit as well because you get the pull forward, into Q4. And I didn't think that was that big a deal, because when you listen to the conference calls I did this morning, not only did they mention it, but it came up in the Q&A as well. And they said, look, the cadence now has returned to normal from a seasonality basis. Things were strong again in March and going into April. So, I think this 40% is a massive opportunity, and I never thought I'd get an opportunity to rebuild this in my long-term account.
So
this thing was trading, by the way, at 7.8 times EV to sales. And I highlighted this in the Discord yesterday saying, hey, this is risky going into the quarter because, this thing trades at a high multiple. But now we're down to 4.4 times and 34 times earnings versus what was close to 58. So I like it at these levels.
So let's see what happens. I got some call options for next week too. $70 strikes, average 487. They're trading like 430, 440 right now. All right. Last thing I want to mention, ODD. Someone in our community mentioned this last night. Never heard of this stock before. Quickly, I was looking at just the metrics look great. At all-time highs now. It's some sort of cosmetics company, disruptive cosmetics company out of Israel. Their balance sheet looks great. Their cash flow looks great. If you put 10 times their cash flow, if you annualize the quarter they just had, you get like a $63 price target. I followed Enoch a little bit late, but I just got a couple hundred shares at like $55.50 or so 45 minutes ago. I don't know. Have you had a chance to look at this name, or have you heard of it before? This is a very new name for me, ODD.
Yeah, you can look on my feed. I've written extensively about
Oh,
ODD
you do know about
years.
it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a terrible performer, and I couldn't figure out why for the longest time. They had a management change. It's now run by a woman who is former Wall Street investment banker. I like her a lot. I think the KPIs that she's focused on are the right things. But if you look at the long-term chart of this thing, it's basically been a flatline chop fest. It really hasn't performed. And then when we saw, I looked at it because it was trading at this massive discount to ELF, right, on a comp basis. And then we started to see some disappointing numbers out of ELF and some of the other comparables. And this thing, continued to languish. So I didn't pay attention to it to my disadvantage, obviously, going into this quarter. It wasn't on my radar for that reason. So, and I haven't had a chance to look at it this quarter to see
Folks
what
may start paying attention now because the stock's at all-time highs and bucking the market trend, up 21% today. So it's going to catch some eyeballs. Ryan, it's all yours.
How you guys doing? How'd you guys finish up? Did you turn it around at all, Ben? Feel better?
It's gonna take a few days or a couple weeks to turn around. We'll see. When you're in a funk, it takes a little bit of time to get out of that funk. But
bro, let me tell you something. I have full confidence in you. In 2024, it's just some of the stocks that I was trading, I was in a funk that felt like it was 6 months long, and I turned it around. If I can do it, you can do it. We'll be here to help you. Really good stuff here today, folks. Really appreciate it. That is Story Trading. Ben, Rhett, and The Godfather. Lion's favorite, The Godfather, by the way. Really good stuff, folks. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good one.
See you, Ryan.
I always cut the wrong people off at the wrong time. I'm sorry about that, but that's just me being a new producer. Folks, thanks for sticking with us here today. A lot of good stuff here today. Cleo absolutely loves it and can't wait to see you folks tomorrow. We're going to send you over to Futures Fever right now with Kevin.